Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto finds secret tool of Minato part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. It was currently late at night as a pregnant redhead wandered through her home. She gave off a yawn as she waddled to the fridge to get something to eat. As she looked inside, her hands unknowingly grabbed some pickles and a jar of peanut butter as she started dipping the shriveled cucumber into the paste. The strangest things pregnant people eat. But before heading back to her room, she saw light was leaking out of Minato's private study. Is he still working on that thing? Kushina slowly walked into the room as she saw her husband's back to her. He seemed to be working diligently over something. Looking over his shoulder, the blonde man was looking into a magnifying glass, writing small sutra seals onto a gear. After finishing this daunting task, he carefully placed the component back into some strange round contraption. Minato-kun, it's already quite late at night. Just come to bed with me. The fourth Hokage stopped what he was doing as he gave his wife a weak smile. Sorry Kushina-chan, I was so engrossed in what I was doing that I just lost track of time. Kushina chuckled at her husband's response. Trying to overachieve as usual, I see. But what are you planning to do with that contraption you got from the land of iron? The blonde scratched his cheek as he thought of how he should word this. Well, when I saw this pocket watch, I suddenly had an idea of something new I wanted to make. New? Yeah, originally Hiraishin was created from my limited understanding of time and space. But from everything I studied, this can be considered the next upgrade. If my research is correct, then this watch can easily replace Hiraishin in every way and then some. So what exactly can this new creation do? Minato gave a choked laugh at the question. Truthfully, I'm not entirely sure. But it's your invention. Well, I do know that with this watch I'll be able to go anywhere without needing a seal formula to go to. It should be capable of creating time-space barriers like Hiraishin can. But this watch is the accumulation of everything I know about time and space. With the combination of all these components, it could lead to the creation of an entirely new generation of techniques. It sounds incredible, Minato-kun. But the war is over already. Such power isn't necessary anymore. Yeah, that is true, but it really wouldn't matter either. What do you mean? My research is still incomplete. There are still a few components missing from the watch to complete the full algorithm of the seal formula. Although it's already a powerful tool, it could still be so much more. Someday, if I could complete it, then this watch could easily be the strongest weapon in Konoha, no, the entire world. Kushina eyed the watch with concern. Do you think it's safe for something like this to exist? Minato shrugged at this. Who's to really say? But at this time, the watch is still missing a few key components. At this time of peace, there really is no need for me to finish it. So it's just another unfinished hobby of yours, huh? But if you have that much time on your hands, then there should be no problem for you to finish Naruto's room, is there? The yandere gave a strange chuckle as he rubbed the back of his head. Yes, dear, and soon the wedded couple went to their room to sleep for the coming day. The day their son, Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, would be born to this world. 7 years later. Naruto, now 7 years old, was once again alone on his birthday. As he sat alone in the darkness of his only room, he wondered why his life was like this. But there was one thing he was looking forward to, as it has been for the last 7 years. Ji-san, you're here. The third Hokage walked in with his usual smile, trying his best to cheer up the young blonde. Sorry I wasn't able to visit as much as I'd like to, Naruto. It's okay, Ji-san, I understand. The Sandaime patted the youth on the head as they then both sat at the table to eat the dinner the elderly Hokage brought with him. Like every year he celebrated his birthday, he would bring a cake along with candles as acknowledgement to him being a year older. Although he did bring gifts each year, this year was something truly special. What did you bring me this time, Ji-san? Something your father most likely would have liked you to have. I had a father? Hiruzen laughed at the silly statement. Of course, Naruto, you didn't just pop out of thin air. But before you open your present, blow out your candles and don't forget to make a wish. Naruto looked hesitantly at the flickering flames. Do you think my wish will come true this year? And what wish would that be? To have a friend? The elderly Hokage laughed again. I suppose an old man doesn't make quite a good friend these days. Sorry, Ji-san. No, it's quite alright. You do need friends your own age. Naruto nodded happily to this. He then looked to his candles while closing his eyes, giving a silent prayer. Please let me have friends this year, and with that he blew out his candles. He then directed his attention to his present, as he hastily opened it to find a strange contraption inside along with several binders of paper. Thanks Ji-san, but what is it? It's a watch, Naruto. It tells time whenever you need to go somewhere. And all this paper? We're not entirely sure. But it seems to only react specifically to your father's presence. Seeing as you're his son, it probably has more use to you than anyone else, as no one else can read it. The young blonde nodded to this. After a small pleasant conversation, the two bid their farewells to each other as Naruto tucked himself in for the night. But just before going to sleep, a part of him was still curious of the gift he got. So turning on his desk light, he looked over the watch to see many strange seals written over the cover. Naruto then popped open the lid to see as many of the gears were littered with many seal formulas. Then closing it up and setting it aside, he looked to the papers as writing mysteriously began to appear on it. Just from looking at page 1, some strange sense of intrigue gripped him as he just had to finish what he was reading. Several weeks later. Time seemed to have been passing him by as he was engrossed by his father's work. Due to this, his academics, which were already poor, began to slip even further down. But it wasn't like he cared, since his teachers regarded him with scorn, making it difficult to learn anyways. So most of the time when he was in class, he hid himself behind a large book as he would secretly read over the notes and attempt to decipher what they meant. But after a month's worth of reading and managing to acquire the necessary parts, he placed the last of the gears into their correct slots. As he closed it up, the watch then started to tick. Well, it did say it was powered by my own chakra. A knock on the door then caught his attention, to which he immediately knew who it was. Welcome back, Ji-san. The Sandaime smiled as he petted the young blonde on the head. So why are you still up so late? Naruto smiled widely to this as he flashed his now working watch with glee. It works now. I managed to get my dad's pocket watch to work. The third Hokage looked in astonishment to how a 7-year-old kid managed to finish Minato's ultimate creation, while a group of elite ninjas couldn't even get past the initial step. Like father and son, I suppose. That's very good, Naruto. Congratulations to your accomplishment. But in response, the young blonde looked down sourly. Is there something wrong? It's still incomplete, as some of my dad's notes weren't finished. This was the best I could do on my own. Hiruzen eyed the youth warily as he contemplated what he should do now. I never thought Naruto would be able to complete Minato's final work. But it would be too dangerous for something this powerful to be in the hands of a child. But in looking at Naruto's smiling face as he watched the hands move, he didn't have the heart to make him give up his father's last memento. So after careful thinking, he then got on one knee to look eye to eye with the blonde. Naruto, the next thing I'm going to say is very important. So I want you to listen carefully. He nodded. That watch is possibly one of the most powerful ninja tools to ever exist. So you must keep it safe at all times. That's not a problem. I wouldn't want to lose it either. But more importantly, don't ever abuse the power of the watch, as you are now its holder, and your parents would truly be upset if you misbehaved with it. Naruto gave his sunny smile to this. Don't worry, Ji-san. I promise I won't do anything reckless with it. The Sandaime smiled to this as he acknowledged the sincerity of this child's promise. But as he left, Naruto didn't quite understand what he promised, since as far as he was concerned, the watch was just a watch. The next day, Naruto didn't have anything special to do, as it was the weekend and there was no school for anyone to attend. So on this particular day, he decided to get some exercise as he ventured through the forest. Like every weekend, it seemed to be an ordinary stroll until something caught his attention. Hey, she's a Hyuga kid. Yeah, she's got the eyes. She must be that Niji's cousin. She's probably cocky too. She thinks she's better than us 'cause of her family and talent. The young blonde watched from quite a distance away as 3 older-looking boys had a young pale girl surrounded in the middle. I'm not like that at all, she then stuttered as she dared not to look up at her aggressors. At seeing an opening, she attempted to run, only to be pulled back by one of the thugs. Trying to run off without saying you're really sorry? What a jerk. Don't let her get away with that. The boy then forced her to kneel on the ground as they all now towered over her. Hey, say you're sorry. Apologize nicely. Say you're sorry. I'm sorry, she whispered out. Not good enough. Say it like you mean it. The pale girl then began to sob. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Naruto had seen enough as he could not stomach any more of this atrocity. Cut it out. Everyone then looked to the newcomer as one of the bullies then stepped forward. What do you want? Hey, he's the kid then, said the other boy. The one who's always getting into trouble. The one everyone hates. Oh yeah, that guy. That guy, huh? The three bullies then laughed at this. I'm not that guy, said Naruto, feeling agitated. My name is Uzumaki Naruto. I'm going to be Hokage one day. Remember that. Hokage? The bullies said in disbelief, to which they then laughed again. However, the young Hyuga looked up with amazement of how much pride the young blonde had. That's a bunch of baloney. What a stupid kid. But the young Hyuga thought otherwise, as his very presence said something different about him. There's no way an idiot like you can be one. As he then punched Naruto across the face. The pale girl's eyes widened as she gasped at seeing the incredible display of hostility. But even after taking such a hit, Naruto wiped the blood off as he stood up wearing a smirk. Wanna fight? Better not regret it, guys. As Naruto formed a seal in front of him. What seal is he weaving? One of the bullies then asked, now slightly afraid. Clone. No way. Jutsu. But in a puff of smoke it didn't turn out nearly as well as he had hoped, as his Bushin didn't even look like him, as it seemed about ready to drop dead at any moment. That's just terrible, the bullies then laughed once again. But using that distraction, Naruto tackled the lead boy to the ground as he began this assault. Caught you off guard. How's that? I will. I'm absolutely gonna become the Hokage. And I'll prove you wrong. At seeing their fellow cohort get taken down, the other two bullies then threw him off, as the three of them were now going to beat the stuffing out of him. However, at the moment he landed on his back, a click sound was heard as everything around him started to slow down as their coloration began to fade. Naruto then got up to see as his opponents were now like statues in front of him. He then looked to see an eerily glow coming from his pocket. He then reached in to pull out his watch to see it was now glowing as all the hands had stopped moving. Naruto looked in amazement at what his watch was now doing. I thought Dad was joking when he said it could stop time, then looking back at the bullies, but apparently not. So recalling the information notes, he knew how to turn off the effects. But before he did that, there was something he had to do first. The pale girl couldn't even fathom what had just happened. In a blink of an eye, the three bullies who were about to beat up her blonde savior were now gagged and bounded on the ground with their own cloths, as the blonde stood triumphantly over them. She then slowly stood up, poking her fingers together in nervous habit. Thanks you for saving me. The blonde looked to her, as he then flashed his favorite sunny smile. Nothing a future Hokage couldn't handle. She smiled at this. But then, sensing her caretaker approaching, she immediately went to hide herself, unknowingly grabbing the blonde to hide with her. The elder Hyuga looked around as he curiously saw three boys on the ground completely gagged and bounded like cattle. But caring very little for them, he moved past them to continue looking for his mistress. Where could Hinata-sama be? Isn't he looking for you? Naruto asked as he and the pale girl were currently hiding together in a bush nearby. She nodded as she couldn't quite find her voice to speak. I just don't want to go home right now. He nodded silently to this, and soon the elder Hyuga left, to which the pair then re-emerged, leaving the area to another part of the forest. But unable to resist his curiosity, so why did you not want to be found? Something happened at home and I just don't want to face Tusan right now. Naruto decided not to push this matter any further, as it was clear she was bothered by it. So changing subjects, I never introduced myself to you. My name is Uzumaki Naruto, the next Hokage of Konoha. The pale girl chuckled at his enthusiasm. And you? What's your name? The young Hyuga immediately froze at this question. I can't tell you. Naruto's eyebrow perched at this. Why not? If I did, then you wouldn't want to be friends with me. So you wanted to be friends too? Said Naruto ecstatically. She almost jumped at the energy the blonde was giving off. But It doesn't really matter what your name is because you are you, right? The pale girl nodded happily to this. Right. Okay, so what's your name? Hinata Hyuga, she then said hesitantly, gauging what his reaction would be. Naruto got into his thinking pose as he heard the last name. Hyuga, you're one of those noble families, aren't you? Hinata nodded slowly to this, as she was now anticipating his rejection of her. But in contrast to her expectations, it's nice to meet you, Hinata-chan. You'll be my first friend. So I hope the two of us can get along well. Hinata for the second time almost jumped at the energy the blonde radiated. But soon settled down into a smile, and I hope too that we can be the best of friends. The pair then sat together against a tree as they laughed in toast to the bond of friendship that was now formed between them. Hi. I'm here to pick up Hinata-chan. Is she ready yet? asked Naruto excitedly as he waved to the guards. One moment please, Hinata-sama will be out in a few minutes. Momentarily the young Hyuga heiress emerged followed by her watcher. Morning Naruto-kun, thank you for always coming here to take me to school, but you don't have to trouble yourself like that every day. She then looked up to the elder man before looking back. Ko-san is usually responsible for this task. The young blonde smiled with glee as he folded his arm behind his head. I know, but I like taking you there myself. He then took her hand, come on let's go. And with a click of his watch the pair disappeared in a flash. Wait. But it was already too late as the children have already disappeared. Ko then sighed as he slapped his face. Why did Hayashi-sama leave me with this trouble? Knowing they had to be at the school already, he quickly ran to the ninja academy to make sure they made it there. The two guards who watched this event each morning could only feel sympathy yet great amusement of the torment Ko had to go through. That kid is definitely becoming a common scene around here. Yeah, at first I was skeptical of what Hayashi-sama was thinking of allowing that QB brat near Hinata-sama. But he doesn't seem so bad. He definitely makes me smile every time he comes around. He's quite the amusing brat even though he has the demon fox inside him. I can agree with that. The guards shared an amusing yet brief laugh before returning back to their stoic duties. Meanwhile from his study, Hayashi was watching the scene below from his window as he too was acknowledging the common event below. His aide then appeared behind him as he kneeled in his presence. Hayashi-sama, it's not my place to question your judgment, but is it wise to allow your eldest daughter to be around that Jinchuriki? Hayashi continued to stare out his window, not bothering to look back. Who my daughter wishes to befriend is her own business. Besides, I do not see any danger behind her seeing him. But Hayashi-sama, you forget that Jinchurikis are not the same as the demons themselves, and from what I have observed he does not appear to be dangerous. The Hyuga head then tilted his head up in thought. Besides, this friendship does prove to have its benefits. Not to overstep my place Hayashi-sama, but what benefits could there be? Have you seen her performance as of late? Yes, Hinata-sama does appear to be improving. Probably doing better than average of what her performance was a month ago. Hayashi nodded. Indeed, after befriending that Jinchuriki her performance has been getting better. Just in last week's sparring session my eldest daughter managed to tie with her younger sister Hanabi. His eyes widened in surprise. Incredible! Hinata-sama has never been able to compete against Hanabi-sama before in a match. Hayashi nodded again. If her performance is directly related to befriending that Jinchuriki, then I have no objections for her to continue this relationship. He then reached up to rub his chin. However, if my suspicions are correct about that boy, then perhaps I might discover something interesting. Hayashi-sama? He shook his head. Never mind, continue with your duties as today is going to be rather busy. Konoha Ninja Academy, mid-afternoon. Man, that was very boring as Naruto folded his arms behind his head. Don't say that Naruto-kun, what they have to teach is very important. So you should really pay attention to what the sensei has to say, said Hinata shyly as she pointed her fingers together. Well, at least classes ended early today. Why was that again? The pale girl gave a slight chuckle. You should really pay more attention, Naruto-kun, because today is a very important day. Oh, why is that? Because today is the day Konoha will make peace with Kumogakure. Who cares about that? So long as we got to get out of class early, then it's all good. Well, at least we should go and see the parade they have going on. Well, if you say so. Naruto and Hinata then proceeded to the parade which was going on in the heart of Konoha. As the children arrived, they managed to find a good vantage point as they saw a bunch of foreign ninjas waving to the crowd as they walked through. Doesn't seem that great. Come on, let's go have some fun while we still have daylight. Maybe we can pull a prank on some of the senseis while we're at it. Hinata slowly shook her head. I'm sorry, Naruto-kun, but I can't play today. My family is currently hosting the guests. So I'm needed back home to give the proper greetings. Naruto then moaned. Well, if you really can't help it, then it's fine. But you better promise to play some more with me tomorrow. The pale girl chuckled. Of course, Naruto-kun, I promise. They then played for a little while out in the forest before Naruto brought Hinata home before going back to his lone apartment. As he prepared dinner for himself, he sat at his lone table eating his instant ramen, briefly at times looking at the door. I guess G-san would be busy with those other ninjas. He probably won't be coming today. So after finishing his meal and brushing his teeth, the young blonde walked out to the balcony of his room to watch the city below. He then took a deep breath in as the cool winds that evening blew by him. Naruto looked to the city below to see a sea of lights begin to spring up. If it were a month ago, he would feel intense scorn to see all these happy families around him. But it's different now. He then took out his watch to look at it. It's just as I wished for. I really did get a friend this year. He then smiled as he looked towards the distance. I'm so happy to have met Hinata-chan. Feeling slightly energetic, I wonder what she is doing right now. Using his watch, he activated Hiraishin as he was now instantly at the Hyuga compound. If Hinata-chan is sleeping, then I guess I'll just go home. Why are they asleep? Naruto looked to the two usual guards as they appeared to be napping. He then snapped his fingers in front of them. Hello, are you guys supposed to be sleeping on the job? I'd better get out of here while the jutsu is still in effect. Huh. Naruto then looked to see a darkly dressed man climb the wall as he started to run the moment their foot touched the ground. What's that? In peering through the darkness, he instantly recognized what the dark-figured man was carrying. Hinata-chan. He then immediately began his pursuit. Hey! Give back Hinata-chan! But in seeing the perpetrator gaining more distance, damn, I won't catch him at this rate. I have to get in front of him. He then clicked his watch, and in an instant he was transported in front of them. Hey you! Give back Hinata-chan right now! Get out of the way, brat! Naruto then narrowly dodged the attack, falling to the ground. He then quickly picked himself up again. No! Give back Hinata-chan right now! Then you'll die where you stand. The young blonde dodged once again. If he wasn't holding Hinata-chan, he definitely would have hit me by now, as he was barely keeping up with his opponent's speed. But first things first. The assailant was growing annoyed and desperate as more time passed. I can't waste any more time here. I need to make my escape now. But in the blink of an eye, his prize was no longer in his arms as it was now in the boy's. What? How did he do that? Naruto now held Hinata in his arms, but before long he was gone again, nowhere in sight. Damn it, where did that brat go? As the dark-figured man looked back and forth furiously. The young blonde was currently hyperventilating as the situation was setting in. At this moment he was hiding with the sleeping Hyuga heiress, who was under a jutsu behind a building close by, as that was the only place he could think of in such short notice. In this moment, Naruto attempted to calm himself down as his legs wouldn't stop shaking, nor would his hands. Oh man, this is the first serious fight I've ever been in. What am I supposed to do? The fact was, it was a child trying to kick a grown man's ass in which he had no real chance in winning. Simply he didn't have any real jutsus to use offensively or for even to buy time. He then looked to his watch, but that won't do me any good either. True, he could freeze time temporarily to do as much damage as possible. But still, it would be a child trying to kick a grown man's ass, to which how much damage would he really do in that much time? Plus, with his current chakra reserves, he wouldn't be able to hold the function for long before time resumed again. He then looked to Hinata, but I need to be brave for her now and keep her safe. As he was about to make the jump with his pale friend, he could not. So that's where you are, you little brat. Naruto looked up to see their attacker standing on the roof. Crap, we've been discovered. The attacker then dropped down, to which Naruto grabbed his friend, pulling her to safety. But because of his successive attacks, it didn't give the young blonde enough time to focus on a destination far away from there. As Naruto took a hit to the face, sending him a distance away. He then slouched up to see his opponent scooping Hinata up again. Get your hands off her. To which he activated Hiraishin, teleporting him in front of the man, punching him in the face as hard as he could. You're really getting on my nerves now, you little shit. In seeing the attack come at him, Naruto jumped to another spot, punching his opponent again. Now his attacks weren't doing much damage, but he was doing the best he could, as he could easily avoid the punches. Hopefully he would do enough damage to eventually hurt his opponent. For that was all that he could hope for. You really need to die now. To which he successfully managed to hit Naruto. The blonde began to breathe heavily as he could barely keep his eyes open. I don't have enough chakra to make another jump. He then looked up to his pale friend. I'm sorry, Hinata, I couldn't protect you. The assailant then approached him with kunai in hand until he stood right over him. You've wasted enough of my time. You should die now. In hindsight, you probably would have lived longer if you just didn't get involved. But just before stabbing his victim, he was stopped as blood shot out his mouth. But how? You made a big mistake in trying to kidnap a member of the Hyuga clan. But an even bigger mistake in trying to kidnap my daughter. The dark-figured man could not utter another word, as the last thing he would see before his death was the furious face of Hayashi Hyuga. After finishing him off, he then unveiled his mask to be surprised to see the head ninja of Kumogakure. So this peace signing was all a ploy to get their hands on the Byakugan. This will not bow well. He then took up both children as he then proceeded home, leaving the clean up for Umbu. Konoha, several days later. Due to the affair, many problems arose. Indeed, Kumogakure was at fault for their underhanded tactics in trying to steal secrets from Konoha. Even though this was fact, they still had the audacity to demand compensation, as it still remained their head ninja was sent there to promote peace between the villages. Due to his death, the peace that many people worked so hard to achieve was now about to crumble, as war was potentially going to break out. So in one of the hardest decisions he had to make, the third Hokage regretfully asked for a sacrifice from the Hyuga clan. In a much heated debate, it was decided by the council to use Hayashi's brother Hizashi, as not only would they avert war, but also keep the secrets of the Byakugan from them. Due to this decision, many lives were changed. Niji-Nizan, please don't act like this, Hinata pleaded. Get away from me! Young Niji then said angrily as he soon stormed off. Naruto, who watched this scene, didn't really know what to say. For he didn't really know Niji, except he was a rather stoic guy and really strong when he saw him beat up a bunch of kids older than him. But the fact was his father was killed for the good of the village, and he could somewhat understand his grief. However, he still had no words to say to him. He then looked to see Hinata approach him in tears. Naruto-kun, my uncle Niji-Nizan's father is dead. What am I supposed to do? Naruto remained silent for a while as he didn't really sure what to say. I'm sorry. If I had saved you earlier, then none of this would have had to happen. Naruto-kun? He then began to shake as his eyes began to water. If I were only a bit stronger, then I would have been able to save you on my own. But you did, Naruto-kun. If you didn't stop him, then that Kumo ninja would have already kidnapped me. But your father ended up having to finish it. If I was able to get you away safely, then your uncle wouldn't be dead. He then looked down briefly before looking directly into Hinata's eyes. He then took her hands in his. Hinata-chan. Yes, Naruto-kun? I promise I'll get stronger so that you will never cry again. I swear on my dream of Hokage that I will always protect your smile, okay? Naruto-kun, she found herself enveloped in a hug to which she began to blush furiously. Soon a soft smile began to form as she gently hugged him back. Thank you, and I promise that I will get stronger too so that I can protect you as well. It's a promise then, said Naruto, to which the pair then shared a warm smile as they then progressed from there. Konoha village. I promise I'll get stronger so that you will never cry again. I swear on my dream of Hokage that I will always protect your smile, okay? Naruto-kun, she found herself enveloped in a hug to which she began to blush furiously. Soon a soft smile began to form as she gently hugged him back. Thank you, and I promise that I will get stronger too so that I can protect you as well. It's a promise then, said Naruto, to which the pair then shared a warm smile as they then progressed from there. So they did, as it has been 5 years since they made their promise. Through these 5 years a few things did change quite a bit, as anyone who was paying attention would have noticed. If by a fourth-dimensional perspective, Naruto and Hinata had grown up relatively close to how they were supposed to be. However, in this half-decade the young pair did indeed gain much from their time together. Although Naruto was still the hyperactive blonde everyone knew, he was much more focused now as Hinata's better manners and study habits rubbed off on him. Likewise, Naruto's confidence and undying willpower rubbed off onto her. Through each other's support they both grew exceptionally within their respective styles. Hinata now had a better aptitude for the Juken style. Her precision, accuracy, and chakra concentration were much improved, to which even some members of her clan was beginning to recognize. Incredibly, she was now capable of using Kaiten, the signature defensive technique of their style. However, due to her kind nature, she was not capable of fully learning the 8 trigram 64 palm. As she disliked hurting people, it was difficult for her to learn an offensive technique. Naruto, on the other hand, managed to learn more from Hinata in 5 years than he did from any of his senseis in his entire life. For the most part, he now had a better understanding of the ninja basics such as chakra control and simple techniques. In addition, his understanding of his father's watch increased bit by bit as his control over it bettered. Along the way he even invented few new techniques with Hinata's assistance, to which even Jounin-level ninjas would describe as impossible to do. Although their progress was impressive, they kept much of what they learned a secret, only at times revealing what they knew when they had to. Even though they liked the attention, they didn't like it in swarms. It was fine that everyone saw them as better than average, but not interested as phenomenal. At their current level they were already pretty impressive for their age. But concerning their time-space knowledge and advanced techniques, that was something they wanted to keep to themselves and only reveal when the time came that they had to. Now on to their daily lives. They attended Ninja Academy like any other kid, as they were supposed to. During the 5 years that they went, they met a very huge array of people. Some of the people they came to know were Shikamaru and Chuji. The pair was from a very well-known clan in Konoha as well as the best of friends as it appeared. However, one appeared to be extremely lazy while the other enjoyed eating far more than they had too. Shino and Kiba was another pair they came to know. Just like the previous, they too were from some well-known clans. But for the most part the Aburame kept mostly to himself while the Inuzuka liked causing pranks alongside Naruto. Ino and Sakura were also some people they came to know. The blonde female was also from a well-known clan. However, the other girl was not from any distinguishable heritage. Arguably, she was the smartest kid of their generation. Curiously, neither Naruto nor Hinata understood why they were friends if they argued most of the time when they were together. Some other people they knew were Tenten and Lee. They were 1 year their senior and already on a ninja team with Niji as their third member. Concerning Hinata's cousin, he was now a lot more withdrawn from the world as anyone who knew him could clearly see how much torment was inside him. This greatly concerned both Naruto and Hinata, but at this time there wasn't anything they could do at the immediate moment. Lastly was the star of their generation, Sasuke Uchiha. By outer appearance, he was the strongest genin of their class as he excelled both mentally and physically. For this particular reason he had the attention of almost every teacher and fangirl after him. Furthermore, he was also the last of his clan. But in the few times that Naruto and Hinata had encountered him, they felt something off about him. In the best they could describe, there was a darkness inside of him that could scare anyone who starred for too long at it. Even against Hinata's advice, Naruto wanted to befriend him as some part of him wanted to try and understand what was eating Sasuke up inside. However, it was easier said than done as the emo boy was extremely introverted and antagonistic towards anyone who approached him. But nevertheless, it didn't stop Naruto from trying as it started a strange rivalry between them. Now to the present time. Tomorrow is the Academy's graduation exam, so this isn't the time to be acting like an idiot. At this time Naruto sat tied up in front of the classroom as Iruka-sensei was yelling his ears off. Although he knew better not cause trouble, some old habits just die hard. Whatever was all Naruto cared to say. Iruka, infuriated by the blonde's defiant behavior, now had enough. Time for a Henj no Jutsu test. Everyone line up. What? Transform perfectly into me. Obviously everyone was peeved at the hyperactive blonde for causing this trouble. But it wasn't like he cared. Simply he enjoyed causing disorder and seeing how people would react. But as everyone organized themselves into a line, Hinata stood next to Naruto. Naruto-kun, you shouldn't anger Iruka-sensei like that. Ah, it's fine. Besides, I'm just having my fun. The Hyuga heiress then looked a bit more concerned. Naruto-kun, please do this test right for me then. I don't want you to get into any more trouble than you already have. Naruto looked to his pale friend as he started to notice her expression becoming sadder. Alright, as he rubbed the back of his head, I get it. I'll do this test right for you. Hinata immediately brightened up to this as she smiled in relief. However, which got her somewhat concerned now. I'll throw in some extra credit while I'm at it. Very good. Next, as Sakura walked back to her desk. Sasuke then walked up next, and to no one's surprise he performed the henge to the definition of perfection. Very good, Sasuke, next to which Naruto then stepped forward, whenever you're ready. The blonde smirked mischievously to this, which got Hinata worried. As he made his cross-sealed chakra began to form around him, and in a puff of smoke he created his henge. Hinata sighed in relief at what she saw. Iruka gave a grunt in approval. Good, Naruto, at least I know that you're paying attention in class. Naruto, as Iruka then gave a smirk, as he then exploded in another puff of smoke. As the smoke cleared, everyone was dumbfounded at what they saw. So how do you like my Oryoku no Jutsu? As he now appeared as a naked female teenage version of himself. At what he saw, Iruka's nose exploded into a massive nose bleed which sent the man flying back. With this action some students laughed at this while others remarked the stupidity of Naruto's prank. Oh, Naruto-kun, thought Hinata as she blushed in embarrassment, while covering her eyes. How troublesome, thought Shikamaru. Barbecue, thought Chuji. God, that's hilarious, thought Kiba. Thought Shino. What a pervert, thought Ino. What is that idiot thinking? Thought Sakura. Dobe, thought Sasuke. Naruto, fumed Iruka. You're in big trouble now. But all the while Naruto was too busy laughing at the behavior of his teacher. Due to this, he was forced to go clean up his latest prank, which was the desecration of the Hokage monument. At this time the young blonde was scrubbing the paint off with Iruka as his supervisor. Naruto-kun, you really should not have done that, said Hinata, who was now visiting. I know and I know I deserve this. But you have to admit it was pretty funny. Hinata looked away slightly in shame as she gave a slight nod. She then looked back. Naruto-kun, the big exam is tomorrow. Would you like to come over and study for it? Now, I'm pretty sure it'll be fine. Besides, how hard can it be? The Hyuga heiress nodded and she smiled at his usual overconfidence. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow then, to which she then left. Afterwards, when Naruto finished, Iruka treated him to a bowl of Ichiraku ramen. For the Chunin ninja was aware of the young blonde's living arrangement. Knowing the special circumstances concerning him, he did have sympathy for the boy as he did what he could to improve his quality of life. Naruto, why were you doing that to the monuments? Don't you know who the Hokage are? Of course I know. Basically, those who get the Hokage title are the strongest shinobi of the village, right? And among them is the fourth Hokage who saved the village from the demon fox. Then why? Well, one day I'm going to get the Hokage title and then I'll surpass all the previous Hokages, to which he said his last part with great conviction. And then I'll make the village acknowledge my strength. Iruka internally chuckled at the boy's dream. Iruka-sensei, I have a little request. What? You want a second bowl? No, can I borrow your forehead protector? This? As Iruka touched his protector. You can have your own when you graduate. This is a symbol you've come of age. If you've been studying, then tomorrow you'll probably get one. Bummer. Just like that, the next day came to see if they would pass or fail. On this particular test, it just happened to be the very jutsu he couldn't get right after 5 years. Why the bunshin? Thought Naruto as he smacked his face in disbelief. One after another, students walked in and out, either as ninjas or repeat students. Looking at group, the people he knew passed. Watching as Hinata walked out, she had her protector tied around her neck. Although he was freaking out, he was still happy for his friend. Way to go, Hinata-chan, as he gave her a thumb up. Hinata gave a soft smile. Thank you, Naruto-kun, she whispered out. Finally, it was his turn as he walked into the exam room. There in front of him was Iruka and his colleague Mizuki. Just like 5 years ago, his bunshin was still as bad as it appeared, colorless and practically half dead on the floor. Even though Mizuki tried to argue on his behalf, Iruka had no choice but to fail him. Just like that, Naruto felt at his lowest as he sat alone on his swing watching the other kids as they celebrated with their friends and family about their achievements. However, he was not alone as Hinata was by his side. I'm sorry that you didn't pass, Naruto-kun, as Hinata tried to be as sympathetic as she could. It's fine, as the young blonde attempted to put on a brave face. Besides, shouldn't your dad be here to congratulate you? The Hyuga heiress shook her head sadly to this. No, Toussaint is currently busy with state affairs. So he wasn't able to come. But Ko-san came in his place instead. Well, it happens, I guess, as Naruto attempted to chuckle. Well, don't let me bring you down. You should feel proud that you graduated. So go out and have fun, okay? But Naruto-kun. It's fine. I just want to be left alone for a while. But Naruto-kun, without another word, he ran away. Naruto-kun. Konoha, Residential District. After some mindless wondering, Naruto was approached by the last person he expected. Feeling desperate, Naruto was offered another chance to pass by Mizuki. In this arrangement, all he had to do was infiltrate the Hokage's tower and steal the sacred scroll of sealing. If successful, he would become a genin. So how hard could it be? Although he could use the watch to stop time and take a look around, it wasn't exactly the smartest option. Even though he could use the watch with higher proficiency, it still didn't change how much chakra it took just to stop the clock. Simply just to stop time for 5 minutes easily consumed all his chakra. He could use Hiraishin, but it didn't do him any good if he didn't know where he was going. Of course, within 5 years he had some other techniques he could use to sneak in. But they were untested for actual use. Since this concerned him graduating, he didn't want to mess up based on him using an untested jutsu. So quietly sneaking in, he tiptoed around attempting to find the storage room where the sacred scroll was kept. But he would not remain unnoticed for long. Naruto, what are you doing in my house? Asked the third Hokage as he stood behind the blonde. Out of instinct, Oryoku no Jutsu, which instantly incapacitated the elderly man. Sorry, Ji-san, but I really want to pass this test. So after finding the room and the scroll, he teleported away to the deepest part of Konoha's forest that he was shown. Upon arrival, well, while I'm waiting, I might as well take a peek inside Kagebushin. Why did the first page have to be the thing I'm worst at? Konoha Village, 12 hours later. Yes, that is a dangerous scroll forbidden by the previous Hokage, as the third was addressing his tracker team. If used in certain ways, it could cause incredible danger. It has been half a day since the scroll was taken. We must hurry and find Naruto. Yes, sir, to which the team immediately dispersed. After some time, Iruka was gasping for breath, as he had practically checked every stone in the village for Naruto. I should check the forest. Knowing Naruto's favorite spots, it took him no time at all to find the blonde, as he looked exhausted on the ground next to the sacred scroll of sealing. I've found you, as the scarred man attempted to keep his temper in check. Naruto then looked up with his usual overconfident grin. Hey! I found the nose bleeder. Idiot! I found you! But after a moment to calm down, Naruto stood up with glee. I wish I had more time, but I learned what I needed. So I can graduate now, right? Was he practicing here this whole time? But then something struck him as odd. Naruto, where did you get that scroll? Oh, this? Mizuki-sensei told me about it, and this place too. He said if I showed you this skill, you'd definitely let me graduate. Mizuki! But in the blink of an eye, he pushed Naruto away as a barrage of kunais rained on him. Nice job in finding the moron, sneered Mizuki for the tree above. I see. Iruka heavily breathed out. So that's what's going on, as he pulled one of the kunais from his chest. Huh? What? What's going on here? Naruto exclaimed as he looked back and forth between his senseis. Naruto! Whatever happens, don't give him the scroll. That scroll has dangerous ninjutsu written in it. Mizuki used you to get his hands on it. The albino-haired man chuckled at this. There's no point in Naruto having it, since there is the truth. No, don't. 12 years ago, Mizuki continued. You know about the demon fox being sealed, right? Since that day, a special rule was created for this village. A rule? Naruto asked curiously. But this rule was never meant to be told to you. Not to me? What is this rule? Tell me. He then watched as Mizuki could barely contain his laughter. What is it? The rule is nobody is allowed to talk about the fact that you're the nine-tailed demon fox. What? What do you mean? As the young blonde felt his legs weaken beneath him. Stop it! Screamed Iruka as he attempted to stop this transgression. Mizuki simply smirked with glee. Simply, you're the demon fox that killed Iruka's parents and nearly destroyed the entire village. He then took out his massive shuriken as he began to spin it. You were sealed up by the Hokage you admired, and you've been lied to by everyone. He then threw his weapon. Iruka is also the same, he also hates you. As Naruto stood paralyzed on the ground from what he learned, he was snapped back to his senses at what happened next. Why? As Iruka stood over him, shielding him for the attack. You must have been in a lot of pain. I'm sorry, Naruto. If only I did a better job, you wouldn't have had to suffer like you did. Unable to cope with everything he had learned, he did the only thing he could think of. Simply, that was just to run. With that, he kept running deeper into the forest, uncertain of what he was doing anymore. But finally, running out of breath, he hid behind a tree as it quickly became apparent that both Iruka and Mizuki had caught up with him. You even transformed into him, the person responsible for your parents' death. I won't hand the scroll over to someone like you. You idiot! Naruto and I are the same. If you use the skills in that scroll, you can do whatever you want. There's no way that Demon Fox wouldn't try to use the power of the scroll. Yeah. Naruto's heart clenched at hearing this. Even Iruka looked down on him. The Demon Fox would do that. But Naruto is different. I've already acknowledged him as a human being long ago. Iruka then exhaled a sigh. He may be a troublemaker, but he knows what it feels like to have pain inside your heart. He isn't the Demon Fox. He is a member of the Hidden Leaf. He's Uzumaki Naruto. At those words, the young blonde felt his world brighten. Somewhere inside him, he knew people were treating him differently for some reason. Truthfully, if he never got to know Hinata in his youth, then Mizuki's predictions about him would be rather accurate. But in learning something more from Iruka, something about his life now felt even lighter now. Well, whatever, as Mizuki was now past his point of patience. I said I was going to deal with you later. But I changed my mind as he started spinning his second kunai. Hurry up and die. In that instant, Naruto flew and kneeing their attacker away, sending him quite a distance. You're going to regret doing that, he coughed as he picked himself up. Don't touch Iruka-sensei or I'll kill you. You idiot. Why did you come out? Run away. Ha ha, I'll kill someone like you in one shot. Try it, trash. I'll return the pain 1,000 times over, as Naruto formed his cross seal. In his poetic justice, he was going to beat him up with the very technique he told him to learn. Then do it, Demon Fox! To everyone's grand surprise, an uncountable number of Narutos now surrounded them. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Wah! What's going on? As Mizuki looked around in panic. What's wrong? Weren't you going to kill me in one shot? Iruka at this time still stood stunned at what he was looking at. Naruto, you have. Well, let's get this show on the road then, to which after a gruesome 10-minute beating, Mizuki was now reduced to a broken man on the ground. He really did divide into over 1,000 copies, each with a real body of their own. Maybe he really will surpass the Hokage someday, as Iruka was still impressed from the display earlier. Hee, I guess I went a little too far, said Naruto, rubbing the back of his head. Iruka sighed. Naruto, come over here. I want to give you something, and close your eyes. So doing what he was told, he then felt something being wrapped around his head. Now, sensei? Okay, you can open your eyes, smiled Iruka. Congratulations on graduating. Let's celebrate. I'll buy you some of Ichiraku's finest ramen and Being too caught up with emotion, he hugged Iruka, as now everything was going to be alright. In watching this from his crystal ball, Hiruzen was satisfied by the results, as he called the tracker team off. Konoha Village, 2 hours later. After getting all the affairs straightened out, such as putting Mizuki in prison, getting Iruka to a hospital, and putting the sacred scroll back in its place, there was one place Naruto just had to be to share his news. After body jumping all the way to the Hyuga compound, he climbed the wall and made his way to the other side of the estate. Looking for the right window, he then climbed up as he knocked on this particular window. Naruto-kun? As the still wary Hyuga heiress wavered back and forth, making her way to the window. She then rubbed her eyes as she opened her window. What is it? It's still nighttime right now. Naruto simply smiled with glee as he pointed to the source of his happiness. Check it out, Hinata-chan. I did it. I'm an official ninja now. Hinata smiled warmly to this. Congratulations, Naruto-kun. I'm happy for your success. But pardon my curiosity, how did you do it? It's a very long story. I'll tell you about it later. But more importantly, I managed to learn a ton of techniques. And I have to say that a lot of them are very powerful and cool stuff. Hinata's eyes widened at that statement. Did you use the time echo? Didn't we agree that method of learning was too dangerous for anyone to use? You could have actually died from the overload of information. Why do you think I look so banged up? He then chuckled. Besides, it's not like I'll learn it all at one time. By sending my intentions to learn each technique into the watch, it then sent back echoes of what I would possibly learn later. It just so happens that Kage Bunshin was the first echo to come back to me. So it'll take some time before the other echoes will reach me. The pale girl sighed at how gutsy her blonde friend tended to be. But what was she supposed to expect from an unpredictable boy like him? So soon she smiled this off, as Naruto always had this way of making things work out. She then took his hand to invite him in. Would you like me to make you something? Or are you sleeping over again? Naruto gave a soft chuckle. After that hard battle, I could use some of Hinata-chan's good cooking, to which the pair then proceeded inside Konoha Ninja Academy. And I was like, wham! Pow! Kablum! And he was beaten on the ground in no time. Naruto smiled with glee as he reenacted the fight he had with Mizuki. Hinata giggled at the blonde's story. Wow, Naruto-kun. You actually have beaten a Chunin. Naruto folded his arm behind his head as he continued to smile. Well, yeah, because I rock, obviously. The pale girl giggled again at her friend's enthusiasm. She then placed her hand to her cheek as if deep in thought. But Naruto-kun, you mentioned that Mizuki-sensei said something to you. What was it? Naruto almost choked at the question. Why do you ask? Well, you mentioned it was something big, so I was wondering what it was. The blonde Jinchuriki turned away temporarily. He then shifted slightly, giving his pale friend a nervous smile. I'll tell you about it later, okay? But Naruto-kun. Besides, today is the day we get placed on teams, right? Let's go. I can't wait to see who we end up with. I hope we end up on the same team. As he soon raced off towards their class. Hinata watched as he ran off. She knew he was hiding something, and it had to be pretty important if he would wave her off like that. Naruto was the kind of guy who liked to share everything with her. So whatever it was, it must have been pretty significant if her friend didn't want to tell her. However, he'll tell me when he is ready, as she soon ran after him. Naruto's apartment. So what do you think, Kakashi? Asked the third Hokage. Think you're up to taking him as your student? The silver-haired Jounin examined the room blankly before looking back at his superior. We'll see during the testing about that. Hiruzen closed his eyes and thought before reopening them. But concerning Naruto, there is a very special circumstance that you should know about him. Yes, Hokage-sama, I'm well aware of his special circumstance of him being the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. You do not need to worry of me mistreating him. No, that's not quite it. You see, Naruto is a lot more special than you believed. Kakashi gave him a questioning look. How so? The Sandaime opened his mouth but then closed it as a smirk appeared. That I will allow you to see for yourself when the time comes. Hokage-sama? Fu. Until then, Kakashi, as Hiruzen disappeared in a puff of smoke. The silver-haired ninja stood there in silence. What did he mean by that? Konoha Ninja Academy. Wow, Naruto actually beat Mizuki-sensei? You mean that goofball? There's no way he could have done it. I don't know, he does seem to have a lot of potential even for someone like him. What the hell is that supposed to mean? I don't know. I always get this feeling he always hiding what he can really do. Whatever. In the period of time when Mizuki was placed in prison, news quickly spread of the Chunin teacher's betrayal and attempted theft of the sacred scroll of sealing. But to everyone's surprise, the supposed superior ninja was not only caught and beaten by a child, but also by someone who didn't even count as a genin at the time. Some believed that Iruka was just trying to portray the boy in a better light. But with the Hokage personally thanking him for his work, any doubts were pushed aside. Although some of the information was censored to protect Naruto's secret, too many people in Konoha had loose lips as it was quickly known how Naruto had beaten a Chunin. This news quickly spread to Konoha Academy. Before the arrival of Naruto and Hinata, much buzz was going around the classroom. Most of the conversation delved whether or not it was fact or fiction that a genin could actually beat a Chunin. But for the people that mattered. Why do these people have to make a troublesome deal of this? Thought Shikamaru. Pork, thought Chuji as he ate his chips. Thought Shino. Wow, Naruto is actually becoming more badass than I thought. I should really pick up my training regime, thought Kiba. Meanwhile, Sakura and Ino amongst many other fangirls were too busy fawning over their pretty boy elite Uchiha. At this time, Sasuke was being surrounded by his posse who made it a daily habit to annoy and praise him about his superb abilities. Naturally, he would ignore them as their pointless flattering didn't make him feel any better. But after hearing the news of the hyperactive blonde, he couldn't help but allow his mind to wander on the topic. Could that dope really be that strong? In knowing him all these years, Naruto was not exactly someone anyone would take seriously due to the kind of personality he had. But after meeting that Hyuga girl, his performance both physically and academically improved. Just like what someone in the class had stated before, he seemed to have been hiding something as it was apparent at times he was holding back. Of course he waved this off as just talk, but after hearing the news that Naruto had actually beaten Mizuki, I'd better keep an eye on him. Just as Naruto and Hinata walked in, Iruka entered as well to begin the class. Congratulations to everyone in becoming a genin. As you should all know today, you'll all be assigned to elite ninjas, the Jounins. From there, they'll continue your training until you're ready to become Chunin. So work hard and become great ninjas, everybody. So as I call your name, you'll be assigned to your group and teacher. Naruto crossed his fingers as he prayed mentally. Please let Hinata-chan be on my team. Please let Hinata-chan be on my team. Similarly to his pale friend, please let Naruto-kun be on my team. Please let Naruto-kun be on my team. One by one, students began filtering out as they were assigned to their group and teacher. For Team 7 under Kakashi-sensei will be Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Harino, which caused many girls to groan, and Naruto Uzumaki, which caused the young blonde to groan as well. Ah man, he then thought. For Team 8 under Kurenai-sensei will be Shino Aburame, Hinata Hyuga, and Kiba Inuzuka. Naruto then slammed his head on the desk in slight depression in how things turned out. It's okay, Naruto-kun, we can still meet other times, as the Hyuga heiress patted him on the back. But I wanted to be on the same team as you, he then whined, still keeping his head to the desk. Hinata gave a slight frown to this. Naruto immediately popped back up with a sunny smile. Then I'll have to make it up to you every chance I get when we're home then. The Hyuga heiress blinked several times at this before settling into a soft smile. Okay then, but please try using the door as much as possible because father usually gets really angry when you use my window. Why? Academy classroom. Ah, what the hell is going on? Naruto complained. At this time, everyone had already left, leaving only Team 7 behind for their teacher to come get them. To be blunt about it, their opinion on their sensei was growing dimmer by the minute. "Would you be quiet already?" stated Sakura. "Why can't you be more like Sasuke?" To which the Uchiha was sitting like a statue, minding to his own business. Whatever. Naruto then sat back at his desk, watching his other two teammates as they attempted to cope with the current circumstance. As he thought about it, he had known his two teammates since he first entered the academy. Sakura wasn't exactly anything extraordinary, but she was indeed very smart and had the ability to learn and adapt easily to any circumstance she faced off against. Although years back he did have a crush on her. However, her loud and violent personality quickly made him rethink what kind of interaction he had with her. Not to mention Hinata usually got sad when he mentioned her, to which he never quite understood why. But still he tries to be friendly towards her. Sasuke was a work in progress with very little of it actually occurring. The two would usually duke it out at least once a week, which seemed to be the only way the two could communicate. Although Sasuke used to beat him all the time in taijutsu, it usually now ends in ties, to which the emo boy now begrudgingly acknowledges his existence. But trying to get any further than that seems to be almost a lost cause, as even now he still refuses to open up to anyone. Finally, after what seemed like forever. "Sorry I'm late. I had to escort an old lady across the street." The three genins looked to their sensei in complete disgust as they shared one unanimous thought. That is such a disgustingly obvious lie. "Now please follow me." Academy's rooftops. "Well, let's begin with introducing ourselves," said Kakashi. "What do you want to know?" asked Sakura. "How about your likes, dislike, your dreams for the future, and things like that?" "Isn't it usually proper to introduce yourself first?" asked Naruto, to which Sakura nodded too. The silver-haired ninja stared blankly at them. "Me? Well, my name is Hitaki Kakashi, and I have no desire to tell you my likes, dislikes, or dreams for the future, and I do have lots of hobbies." The three genins blinked at this as they then looked at each other. "So he only just told us his name. Now it's your turn, let's start from the right." "Alright," said Naruto excitedly. "My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I like cup ramen, but I like Hinata-chan's cooking more, which is mostly ramen, and I really hate when someone wastes a good ramen meal." Is ramen the only thing this kid thinks about? "And my dream is to someday surpass all the Hokages so that everyone in Konoha would acknowledge my existence." Kakashi blinked at this. "Like father and son, I suppose. And as for hobbies, well, I guess I have a few." Kakashi scratched the back of head. "Alright, next." Sasuke then spoke up, as he still kept his sitting position ever since he arrived. "My name is Sasuke Uchiha. There are lots of things I dislike and very few things I like, and I can't really call it a dream." But as his demeanor then grew darker, "I have an ambition to resurrect my clan and kill a certain man." The last statement immediately got everyone's attention. Sakura being the adolescent fangirl that she was, thought it was cool. Naruto, being the first time he heard of this, was now wondering if this was the thing eating away at him. Kakashi could only frown, as he had a feeling that was what he was going to say. "Okay, and lastly the girl." Sakura shivered in excitement as she giggled a bit. "My name is Sakura Haruno. The thing is actually the person I like is, but really my dream is." The boys then gave sigh as the pink kunoichi became an awful jittery mess. "Oh yeah. What I dislike is Naruto." "Oh come on," the blonde then rebutted. "Can't you take a joke?" as he recalled the prank he pulled on her many years ago. "And my hobby is..." Kakashi gave a deep sigh as he so desperately wanted to facepalm himself, or at least duct tape her mouth for the moment. Girls at this age are more interested in love than in justice. After introductions, the silver-haired ninja gave his first assignment of survival training. Upon announcement, his genin team was thoroughly freaked out. According to their sensei, only 9 out of all the graduates get onto official teams, while everyone else is sent back to the academy to try again. With this much pressure on them, anxiety built up rather quickly. So with instructions to come back prepared the next morning at the training fields to undergo the test, the three genins then departed to make their preparations. "Ah crap, I can't fail here. I worked too hard to lose now." As Naruto was freaking out as he paced around the forest to calm himself in order to think straight. "So I need to make sure I'm ready to fight Kakashi-sensei with everything I've got." He then turned to exit the forest, but then stopped. "I better not bother Hinata-chan. I bet she has her own test to worry about." He then took out his watch, looking intently at it. "Kakashi-sensei definitely feels a lot stronger than Mizuki-sensei was. If I plan to beat a jounin, I'd better make sure I bring everything." And so that night, for many hours, Naruto got to work to make sure he was ready for the trials of the next day. Konoha Forest, training grounds, morning. Hey guys. Good morning, called Kakashi somewhat enthusiastically. You're late, called Naruto and Sakura angrily, and Sasuke just simply nodded. The silver-haired ninja then placed a clock on a wood stump as he said it. Okay, it's set for noon. The three genin watched in confusion to the time limit. Here are 2 bells, your task is to take these from me before the time is up. Those who don't get a bell don't get lunch. I'll not only tie you to one of those stumps, but I'll eat it in front of you too. Naruto at this point was zoning out as he smiled in glee at how easy the test was. If he only needed to retrieve the bells, then it should be an easy enough task. For this test, he had just the right technique to do it. Back to the academy. If you want to use shurikens and kunais, you may, because you won't succeed unless you come at me to kill. So begin when I say. Do you mean these bells, Kakashi-sensei? Yeah, those bells. Wait, what? What the hell? Thought Sasuke as he looked in bewilderment in how the blonde managed to capture both bells. How did he do that? Thought Sakura as she could only stare in awe at how Naruto managed to steal from a jonin from right under his nose. When in the hell did he do that? As Kakashi was racking his brain for a logical answer to how the blonde ninja could have gotten a one-up over him, he just bypassed the entire point of the test. He then did a self-diagnostic of himself and the area around him. I'm definitely not under any form of genjutsu. As he confirmed the bells Naruto was holding were real. And he definitely didn't use any seals to create any ninjutsu. Could this be another type of ninjutsu? So not wanting to lose face, he body flickered next to the blonde and retook the bells before body flickering back. I need to understand this quickly before this gets out of hand, sorry, but you're going to have to wait till I say go. That's fine by me, smirked Naruto as he was now brimming with overconfidence. Sasuke still couldn't believe what he saw. Sakura still hadn't quite snapped out of her stupor yet to react to Naruto's overconfident remark. Alright, and go. Just as Sasuke and Sakura were about to jump away. I got them! Cheered Naruto once again as he held up the 2 bells. He smirked at the success of his prototype time jutsu fast forward. I'll think of a cooler name later. Simply, this new technique functioned much differently than his usual time jutsus. First, it required far less chakra than time stopping and even less than Hiraishin's teleportation. Rather than slowing everything down, he was speeding himself up to the point of moving faster than anything he could imagine. However, I'd better keep my bursts as short as possible or else end up like that tree, as he recalled how the tree he practiced on aged to death in a matter of seconds. Yeah, definitely better in short bursts, so that gives me about 5 seconds to do what I need while in fast forward. Sasuke, Sakura, and Kakashi could only stare wide-eyed once again at the blonde's achievement. But without another thought, the silver-haired jonin stole them back. Hey, that's cheating. Stealing them back weren't part of the rules, fumed Naruto. Well, I make the rules. So you're going to have to hold on to them until the ringer goes off before I acknowledge that you pass. That should give me enough time to figure out his trick. Fine, you cheating jerk, then I'll just steal them back. Just like that, the feud began as the blonde ninja and the silver-haired jonin played keep away as they stole the bells back and forth from each other. Meanwhile, do you get this feeling that we've been forgotten? Asked Sakura as she watched the trade-off between her teammate and teacher. Sasuke simply nodded, as it was just mind-boggling to him to how Naruto was able to keep up with the jonin elite of all people in a contest of speed. He then squeezed his fist in irritation as he gritted his teeth. How can this possibly be? As all he can think about now was how he couldn't keep up with what was going on. You'll pay for that. What was that? As Kakashi heard a clicking sound again just before Naruto retook the bells. Could that be the secret? He then quickly analyzed everything he knew thus far. Why doesn't he just disappear when I try to retake them? He's definitely not physically that fast if he couldn't hold on to them for long. So it must be some sort of ninjutsu or genjutsu to how he is doing it. But then he saw it again as Naruto reached into his pocket, and only for that brief moment saw something shine at him. Is that it? Ha ha, I've got it. Only for it to be stolen back again. Damn it! As he reached into his pocket only to find it empty. What? Kakashi smiled cockily to him as he showed that not only did he hold the 2 bells but also his pocket watch. Hey! That's mine! Naruto stated angrily. The silver-haired jonin simply smirked as he looked to the watch. How many years has it been since I've seen this Minato-sensei? I said give it back. As Naruto charged in like a rabid animal. But then was quickly taken down by his teacher's superior skills. I see, So it was the watch which allowed you to match me so far. But without it you're just another snot-nosed brat who is all bark and no bite. You son of a... But the conversation was quickly interrupted as a giant fireball came flying right at them, to which Kakashi immediately jumped out of the way. He then looked up to see Sasuke poised ready to attack with Sakura standing right behind him. Ho ho ho, so you two are ready to have a go, huh? He then ducked his head, avoiding Naruto's fist. Give me back my watch. Make me, he simply smirked before body flickering away. Naruto squeezed his fist in anger as he watched his Jonin teacher just escape. What the hell was that all about? Asked Sakura. Do you mind telling us what you just did a moment ago? Who cares then, said Sasuke indifferently. It's his own damn fault for losing. So if you'll excuse me, I have a bell to claim. Although a part of him was interested in what Naruto did, claiming a bell for himself was his top priority. Wait. Sakura and Sasuke then turned to look at him. Please help me get back my watch. It means everything to me. If anything happens to it, then I wouldn't know what to do, as Naruto slightly shivered at that thought. Then why would you bring something so important with you to a test? Asked Sakura, slightly agitated. That is just so dumb. Because it's the only thing I have of my dad, and I always want to keep it close to me. Sakura immediately fell silent to this statement. Is Naruto an orphan too? As she then looked to Sasuke. The young Uchiha looked slightly troubled before settling down. Somewhere deep down, a small part of him understood the frustration he was having. He then closed his eyes and thought, to which a moment later he smirked. Fine dope, I'll help you get back your stupid watch so long as you make yourself useful and help me get one of the bells. But Sasuke-kun, the bells are, said Sakura. Fine. Naruto interjected as his hype was up again while pumping one of his arms. I don't care about getting one of those shitty bells so long as I get my watch back. Sasuke smirked at this. Fine, we'll work together for now. Sakura then gave a sigh. Well, as long as I get a bell, if this is how it's going to be, then I'll help also. But please keep in mind we're up against a Jonin, so we'll need to pool our resources together if we plan to win. So first off, let's show what we have for tools and make a list of what techniques we got at our disposal. At least then we'll be a stronger fighting force. The two boys looked to their third teammate in surprise. Impressive, thought Sasuke. Wow, I knew she was smart, but I didn't think she was that smart, thought Naruto. Okay, so these are the tools we have, and what about jutsus? I can use several different fire element jutsus plus the basics, said Sasuke. I can do basics too then, said Naruto. I can also use Kage Bunshin plus a cool derivative of it, although I have other jutsus, but I can't use them right now, as he whispered the last part. That's like running before you even walk. How can you use Kage Bunshin if you can't even manage a simple Bushin? Criticized the young Uchiha. Oh, shut up. Just take it on the word I can do it. TSK, whatever. The two boys then looked to the pink kunoichi. And you? Sakura felt kind of small now, as her two teammates had some good jutsus, yet she didn't really have anything to contribute. I only know basics, she sadly said. She immediately shook this off. Okay, now that I have a good understanding, let's create our trap. Konoha Forest, training grounds, near 12 o'clock. I guess they must have given up after seeing the exchange between me and Naruto, said Kakashi. I guess I shouldn't have expected much, as he was about to walk away. Hey, hole. I want what's mine. And that obviously must be, as he then turned to see Naruto pointing at him. Yeah, I thought so. Prepare yourself, because I'm reclaiming it now. As Naruto ran right at him, but was soon stopped as Kakashi pinned him to the ground. Is that all you got? Nope, he smirked. Kakashi then felt a strange feeling from him as he immediately jumped and backed off as far as he could, and just in time as Naruto had exploded, taking out a chunk of earth with him. What the hell was that? He then exclaimed. How did you like my Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, or its offensive derivative Bakuretsu Bunshin no Jutsu? It was a real blast, wasn't it? As another Naruto appeared. Surrender or else, then, said another Naruto. This kid is just full of surprises, as Kakashi stared in wide-eye. First the time-space jutsu and now this? What now? He immediately jumped back as he saw a giant fireball flying right at him. Katon, Great Fireball no Jutsu, as Sasuke appeared behind the Naruto army. What the? But before he could question it, the Naruto army began their rush as they raced towards him. Kakashi dodged one after another, yet dared not to touch one of them in fear of them exploding in his face. He then saw an opening as he attempted to run out of the pincer attack. However, he was immediately dissuaded from doing so by a giant ball of flame. What are they planning? By simple observation, Naruto was engaging in close-range battle as Sasuke provided fire support from a distance. Not bad, they're keeping me on edge, making it very difficult for me to counter. He couldn't use taijutsu against Naruto in fear of exploding or escape without being caught up in Sasuke's flames. What could they be planning? But just as interestingly, where is Sakura? But unknown to him, he was going exactly where he was supposed to go as he was forced to retreat into the forest. After what seemed like forever, Kakashi found himself backed into a tree surrounded by the specialized bushes with Sasuke in the trees some distance away. What could it be? As he then took one more step back. Now! Kakashi was immediately surprised as his arms and legs were soon bounded by wire traps as he couldn't move now from the tree. Did these kids really think these wires could hold me? How naive. But that's when the final trap came into motion as Sakura jumped down from the tree, creating a seal Kakashi instantly recognized, Genjutsu. The next thing he realized, everything went a little crazy, which he immediately shook off before breaking out of his bindings and checking himself for the bells, only to look up to see his students smiling at him triumphantly. Sasuke smirked as he held up his bell. I got one! Cheered Sakura with her bell. My watch! As Naruto hugged his device. The silver-haired Jounin coughed in disbelief. After all these years, I never thought I could be bested by my genin students. He then gave a solemn expression. I validate my defeat. Let's all proceed back to the training grounds. Konoha Forest, training grounds, past noon. Congratulations all of you, you have passed my test as you are all now officially my students. How is that possible? Asked Sakura. You said only the ones with the bells will pass. Wait, what? Asked Naruto as he checked his ears to make sure he just heard wrong. Kakashi shook his head. That wasn't the point of the test. You see, the point was to develop teamwork amongst your peers, because if you can't trust each other now, then how can you trust each other when the time really demands that you need to? Although it's good to develop individual skill, it's also very important to know how to work with others. He then looked to Naruto. Very noble of you, Naruto, you gave up your place for a bell even with the belief of failing. Right, as Naruto gave a strained laugh while scratching his cheek, to which Sakura and Sasuke stared at him, giving him the obvious liar look. So congratulations Team 7, as you are now official genins. Hyuga Compound, early evening. What? You've got to be kidding me. That was your test, Naruto exclaimed as his mouth gaped in disbelief. Hinata nodded. It wasn't so bad. Shino-kun and Kiba-kun were really helpful as we passed Kurenai-sensei's test without too much trouble. Naruto breathed out a deep sigh. I must be extremely unlucky to get situations like this. The Hyuga heiress patted his back in comfort. It's okay, so would you like me to make you something while you're here? The blonde Jinchuriki brightened at the offer, while You used my daughter's window again, didn't you? Oh crap. As Naruto jumped off Hinata's bed, I'd better get out of here now. Hinata immediately opened the window to allow her blonde friend to escape. Hurry, Naruto-kun, or father might actually try to kill you this time. Naruto then jumped on the windowsill as he then turned to smile at his pale friend. Okay, see you tomorrow, Hinata-chan. Her door was then slammed open, which caused Naruto to fall out. However, that didn't really stop him as he picked himself off the flower bushes and began to run away laughing. Although he couldn't really hear it, Hayashi was definitely yelling at him about something as he was halfway out the window waving a fist. All the while Hinata and the surrounding guards couldn't help but giggle at this entire event. A usual day. It was early morning as the sun began to rise over the sleeping village of Konoha. At this time, many ninjas were already awake and performing their duties like clockwork, as some were on gate duty, some were on patrol, and others were doing their morning exercises. However, for a certain member of the Hyuga household, things were slightly different. On this pleasant morning, the Hyuga heiress was awakened by the light that shined through her curtains. Although by certain perspectives she was considered a princess, she sure didn't indulge in the perks of one. With all the wealth and servants Hinata had at her disposal, she enjoyed doing things her own way. The pale girl rubbed the weariness from her eyes as she made her way to her dresser to begin her usual morning schedule. Ever since that promise she made with Naruto, the two of them have been going to the forest every morning to train. At first it was difficult to maintain, but as they got older the process became much easier as they went along. In the beginning they were ambitious in their pursuit of betterment. First was a run around the forest to gain stamina, then tree climbing for strength, and finally light sparring for dexterity, toughness, and taijutsu polishing. With any time left they did whatever they felt was necessary to do. Although most of that time was spent sitting around talking about anything they could think about, which they thoroughly enjoyed. She then got dressed in her black form-fitting training attire, and then exited her room. "Hinata-sama, will there be anything you require of us?" Hinata looked to the branch family member, as she shook her head. "Thank you, but I do not," as she gave a polite bow before leaving. As she left, a slight frown couldn't help but appear as she thought about Niji and all the branch members. In the years the Hyuga clan had existed, there have been two distinct factions. The main family and the branch family. Although officially the branch family were the protectors of the main, it was painfully obvious to see that most of the main family treated the branch like slaves. This idea left bitterness in her mouth, to which she tried to rectify. As far as she saw it, they were all one big family, and should be equal in every aspect of that meaning. However, it was not easy to reach out to them, as she was the Hyuga princess, and they were simply servants. Bridging the gap would not be easy. Naruto also agreed with this idea, as he saw some of the living conditions the branch members were having. But seeing that someday she would become the next head, this is something I must fix. For now, she did what she could for them. Now, making her way down the hall, she stopped at a particular door, as she knocked on the frame before sliding it back. "Hanabi-chan, are you going to come on a run with me this morning?" The young Hyuga looked slightly irritated as she fumed to her older sister. "Knock it off with the Hanabi-chan. I'm not a child anymore." As Hanabi, now dressed in her training attire, soon exited her room to join her. "Okay, Hanabi," Hinata giggled as she petted her, to which she responded by swatting her hand away before proceeding outside. At first, Hanabi wasn't too interested in joining Hinata in her training regime. But after the incident with Naruto, well. Flashback. "Why should I do something foolish like train with you guys?" bluntly stated Hanabi. "You and Hinata knees and probably just waste all that time messing around. So why should I waste my time when I'm better off training with the main branch?" "Come on, Hanabi-chan, it'll be fun," smiled Naruto. "And besides, it was Hinata-chan's idea that you'd come along with us." The young Hyuga felt irked at the honorific. "Stupid blonde, I'm better off training with my peers. So if you'll excuse me." But just before she was out of hearing range, "Oh, I see," then interjected Naruto. "You're just afraid of how hard the training is." Hanabi stopped dead at where she stood. "What?" "You're probably right. The training me and Hinata-chan do is probably way too much for a little kid like you to do anyways." Hanabi then turned back and gave the blonde a signature Hyuga glare. "Do you care to say that again?" "Yeah, you're afraid, and I completely understand that it's just too hard for you." He then started pushing Hinata to the exit. "So if you'll excuse us, we better let you get back to your training." "Hold it!" Hanabi then exclaimed. "I don't know who you think you are. But I will not allow you to sully the Hyuga clan name by saying something was too difficult for me to do. So I will personally show you how pathetic your training schedule is." End flashback. Hinata couldn't help but giggle again. Although her sister was young, she had the Hyuga ego down perfectly, as she was easily baited into coming along. So it has been a few weeks now as Hanabi was joining her on her training runs. Consequently, her relationship to her sister was slightly improved, as at least they were on talking terms, and at times she would listen when she was giving advice to her. The two Hyugas made their way to the training grounds in the forest, to which they were then greeted by another common sight. "Hey guys. It took you both long enough." The pair looked to the direction of the voice as Hanabi gave the boy a slight glare, as her lips couldn't help but twist in disgust. "It's the stupid monkey boy again." "That's not very polite," Hanabi whispered. "Hinata, address him appropriately by his name, and please keep in mind that he is just trying to be friendly with you." "Fine, whatever," the young Hyuga then replied. Is Hanabi-chan finally recognizing me?" smirked Konohamaru. He then pinched both her cheeks as he stretched them. Hanabi immediately swatted his hands away as she rubbed her face. "That's it, monkey boy. I'm going to beat the crap out of you when I get you." Nah, catch me if you can then," as the young Sarutobi ran off towards the trees. "Get back here, you stupid monkey!" as Hanabi then gave chase. Hinata smiled as she watched the scene unfold. It wasn't until some time after Hanabi joined that Naruto invited Konohamaru in their morning runs. As the Hyuga heiress remembered it, the young Sarutobi heard of Naruto's victory over Mizuki and thus wanted to train under him in order to someday gain power and fame, which didn't automatically state because he's the Sandame's grandson. Although Naruto didn't mind, he also had another reason for inviting him. Flashback. "And Kono here will be your training partner from now on," smiled Naruto as he introduced the boy to the group. "Why?" then questioned Hanabi. "He looks really weak." "Who are you calling weak, short stack?" Konohamaru rebutted as he raised his fist in agitation. "Weakling," she plainly stated, again not giving much care for consequences. Kanahamaru growled as he then turned back to Naruto. I wanted to train under you. So why do I have to train with her? As he pointed at the said person. It's important that you start off at your own level before going higher. Trust me when I say that, Hinata-chan, and I learned that the hard way during one of our practice runs. But I don't want to train with her. To which Hanabi also gave a slight nod in agreement. Naruto then looked up in thought before looking back in inspiration to the young Sarutobi. I'll tell you what, if she doesn't catch you during this entire morning practice, then I'll start giving you instructions, okay? Promise? Yeah, I'll teach you some of the stuff I know. Kono smirked with excitement. Although he already had Jounin appointed instructor, he found Naruto a far better teacher in relation to his current piece cake, but he then looked to him curiously as he scratched his cheek. But what happens if she does catch me? Then you're going to have to keep doing it until she doesn't. And why do I have to do this? Then asked Hanabi. I didn't come here to train with a weakling like him. So what exactly do I gain out of this? Why? Naruto then asked. Are you worried that you're actually weaker than my Kohai here, that you won't be able to catch him? Of course not, Hanabi exclaimed. Then you won't have any trouble catching him then, will you? He then taunted. The young Hyuga gave him a slight glare before turning back to neutral. I'll give him a 10-second head start. In your dreams, short stack. As Kono soon ran off towards the forest. It soon became visibly apparent that Hanabi was growing irritated by the boy's banters. She then turned to face the pair. If he comes back dead, it's not my fault, as she soon ran off to chase him. Naruto gaped at the statement. I'm beginning to think this was a bad idea. Agreed, nodded Hinata. End flashback. Although Kanahamaru had succeeded recently in not getting caught, he kind of actually enjoyed his time in teasing her sister, as he baited her into a chase to which the young Hyuga kept getting all caught up in. Now, if Hanabi was irritated by this or actually enjoyed this game of tag, she didn't really know, but decided to leave it be, as she didn't seem to complain much about it. Besides, it was good for her that she did kid stuff and not get so caught up in Hyuga customs and traditions, and actually behaved like a kid as she was supposed to. Hinata then began her light jog around the forest as her mind began to wander onto her blonde friend. As of recently, they both have been incredibly busy with missions. When she was home, Naruto was out and vice versa. But with the time they did have together, they would usually spend it talking about their usual stuff, like how their missions were, what have been going on with their lives, or if they learned anything new recently. But as of this week, Naruto wouldn't be home for a while and thus would be unable to attend their usual meeting times. Flashback. You're going away. As Hinata held her mouth, unable to contain her shock. You don't have to put it that way, said Naruto, trying to calm his pale friend down. My team is currently going on a mission to the Land of Waves as a bodyguard escort for some Asen against bandits. The blonde then looked very giddy. Oh, I'm so excited about this mission. I finally get to see some action against bad guys. Bodyguard work? She questioned. Isn't that a C-ranking mission? Yep, said Naruto excitedly. My first C-ranking mission, I can't wait to get started. Oh. The blonde then noticed his friend's drop in behavior. Is there something wrong, Hinata-chan? Hinata shook her head. No, it's just that you'll be gone for a while and I'll be lonely. Naruto chuckled a bit before giving her one of his reassuring smiles. Don't worry, I'll be back as soon as I can. Plus, as a bonus, I'll bring back a souvenir from Wave, alright? The Hyuga heiress then smiled to this. Okay, Naruto-kun, just please promise me that you'll be safe. He then gave a thumb up. Believe it. When I return from a successful mission, let's celebrate at Ikaraku's. End flashback. It has been some time since he left, and truthfully she was a bit sad with how long he was gone. Most D-ranking missions that Genins went on were usually local jobs in neighboring places around Fire Country, ranging from farming work to locating lost pets. But as missions get higher in rank, so does their danger and distance from home. Although she worried about Naruto, he made it a habit to constantly remind her to have faith in him, as he'll always come back safely. Since finishing her strength training and practicing her taijutsu, she decided to call her morning session to a close as she proceeded on to the next part of her routine day. Hyuga compound. Breakfast is ready, called Hinata as she served the dishes on the table. This was the next part of her morning, as she would make something for herself and something for anyone else who was present. Hanabi arrived to the table first, followed closely by Kanahamaru. Wow, Hinata-nichan, this looks delicious as usual. Hanabi-chan would probably burn water given the chance. You can't burn water, the young Hyuga plainly stated. Knowing you, You'd definitely find a way. Shut up as they then began their meal. Hinata watched the two bicker as her mind then began to wander again. She didn't know when it started, but recently she took a liking to cooking. To further this pursuit, she began learning tips, tricks, and recipes from any source she could find from the main branch's cook-to-books in the Konoha library. Of course, she didn't have to do this as the Hyuga household did employ a full-time cook. But she enjoyed cooking as a kind of hobby. Since Naruto liked it so much, she figured why not? Good morning. Hinata turned around as she gave her father a polite bow. Good morning, father. The elder Hyuga took his seat at the table as he quietly ate his meal. Her father was still a strict and somewhat cold man as long as she could remember. But somewhere deep down she knew he cared for both her and Hanabi's well-being. At first Hayashi was none too interested in spending time with her outside of training as he had his own routine to follow, as each morning a servant would bring his breakfast to his study so he could remain relatively undisturbed when sorting out the daily state affairs of the Hyuga clan. But then one day, after having a conversation with Naruto, her father started being a part of her daily life. She then looked back to see her father quietly eating his meal, the effect Naruto-kun has on people. Konoha, afternoon. At morning's conclusion, she was then given the option of either training with her team or with her father and sister at the household. However, it usually was with her teammates. As far as her father was concerned, she was more than capable of keeping up with her studies. After demonstrating her ability to use Kaiten, he found her private training with Naruto sufficient enough in keeping her gentle fist style well polished. Although at times he would request a session with her either to teach her something new or a surprise sparring match with her sister to make sure she wasn't messing around. With her sister in those matches, she made sure to go easy on her to make sure either of them got into trouble with their father. So making her way to the training grounds, she found her team already there waiting for her. About time you got here, Hinata. We've been waiting for you, called Kiba as his dog Akamaru barked in agreement. Good afternoon, greeted Shino. Now that Hinata is here, said Kurenai, let's begin our team building exercise. Okay, nodded Hinata. The team soon ventured into the forest to begin their exercise. Okay, called Kurenai. I've hidden something special out here in the woods coated with my chakra. But don't bother trying to sense for it as its presence is well shielded. So you need to combine all your abilities to find it. Kurenai-sensei, won't you tell us what the target is? Asked Kiba. No, that's a part of the exercise. Are there any other questions? Will there be a time limit? Asked Shino. Kurenai nodded. The time limit is until this late afternoon. But don't worry, I won't penalize any of you if you don't find it. However, I will be quite impressed if you do, and if you find it, I'll buy dinner for everyone. Thank you, sensei, they all said unanimously. Good, now go. To which the team dispersed. So what the hell can this thing be? Asked Kiba as he jumped along the treetop along with his dog. Do you really think this thing can really be that hard to find? It best not to underestimate Kurenai-sensei, answered Shino, who was jumping alongside him. Sensei is an expert genjutsu user. It would be unwise of us to underestimate her skills. So we better look everywhere carefully, or otherwise we might miss it. Hinata nodded as she kept close to them. Although they were trained like any other genins of their kind, they were also trained with the special quality of being a tracker unit. Looking to her left was Kiba Inuzuka, the nose of her team. He was from the Inuzuka clan, who were well known for their dog-based justice and their incredible sense of smell. Now Kiba had a very loud personality similar to Naruto. But in contrary to him, he lacked a kind of sensitivity and finesse her blonde friend had. Now looking to her right was Shino Aburame, the ears of her team. The Aburame clan was a very mysterious group, as they were the definition of secrecy. However, it was a well-known fact that their clan specialized in bug jutsus, which varied in many types of tasks. Although Shino didn't talk much, he appeared to be kind and polite from what she could see. She herself was the eyes of the group. With her Byakugan, she could spot things far away with certain defined detail, making her a very valuable asset to the team. With their 3 special attributes put together, they were easily the best tracker and spy team for their age group in the short time they've worked together. However, this particular task was going to be quite the challenge. I don't smell anything that matches Kurenai-sensei's scent, said Kiba. So she must have chakra scrubbed it well if there isn't even a trace of it left. My chakra bug sense her presence, added Shino. But it seems to be too faint, which is making it difficult for me to locate. He then looked to his third teammate. Hinata? The Hyuga heiress nodded as she activated her Byakugan to look around. She then shook her head. I don't see anything. Whatever it is must be shielded from my sight. Then we'll have to investigate everything as we go, said Shino. But that would take forever. then said Kiba. There has to be a faster way to find whatever it is. He then slammed his fist into his hand. If only Sensei told us what the target was, my nose could probably have picked it up by now. Hinata gave it some thought as she looked around. But Kurenai-sensei must have left some clue somewhere. There is no way it could be this perfectly concealed. I agree, nodded Shino. But we don't have much to go on. The pale girl gave it some thought until something came to mind. Shino-kun, do you think you can spread a bug network around the forest? Why would he do that? Asked Kiba. I see then, said Shino. He then raised his arms as a swarm of bugs began to fly out, covering approximately a 1-mile radius of their position. Wait. What's the point is doing that? To which Akamaru barked in agreement. Quiet, answered the bug ninja. After a moment he looked up as he gave a slight flinch. Did you find something? I'm not sure, said Shino. I felt something for a moment, but then it disappeared. Kiba looked at the scene in bewilderment. What could this be about? Slowly he thought about it as he looked around at all the bugs that surrounded them. In approximately the 1 mile he smelled them. There it is again. The dog ninja looked in the said direction, but then it hit him. He's using himself as a sensor tower. Looking a second time around him, he could feel all the bugs around them sending some sort of signal back to the source, as Shino at this point could sense anything that damn well breathed in the mile around him. Shino-kun? Asked Hinata. I'm not sure, it was there for one moment, but then it disappeared again. Shino shook his head a bit. I'm not sure where it is. It keeps disappearing before I can lock onto it. Kiba then looked at a particular direction as he focused his eyes. I think the object is alive, which caused both his teammates to look at him. Well, it's just a guess, but it seems to be the most obvious choice. I agree then, said Hinata. Simply, if Kurenai really wanted to hide something, it couldn't have been something stationary, as it would have been easily located by the bug network. If their teacher really wanted them to work for it, it must have had to be something that could continuously elude them. She then looked back. Shino-kun? I got it, he said. It's over there, as he pointed in the said direction. Kiba-kun! I'm on it, exclaimed Kiba, to which he raced in the said direction. Which way now? Hinata activated her Byakugan. Something moved to your right, to which Shino nodded too. All right. As he chased after it. But to no avail, the target was leading them on a very merry chase which seemed to have lasted a good 10 minutes until. All right. I've got it scent. I can chase it on my own now. Then after 2 more minutes, I got it. Shino nodded in approval as Hinata smiled in a job well done. Soon Kiba walked out of the forest with the special object in hand. How cute! Hinata blushed as she looked at it as she held her hands together. Shino kept silent as he looked at it. This was interesting. In Kiba's hand was a squirrel with a collar around its neck brandishing a wooden talisman marked with their teacher's name. I guess that it. Konoha, sometime later. Hinata began her wandering around Konoha as she didn't have anything in particular she had to do. Although her teacher offered to take them out, she kindly refused. Simply at this time she was free to do anything she liked. On days like this, when she completed her usual morning rituals, everything was just free time. Since she had no missions to do or prepare for, she just enjoyed the leisure time she had to allow her mind to wander. However, on board, usually on days like this, Naruto would be around her to keep her company. The blonde had this radiant personality which always made her smile every time she was around him. But now that he was gone for so long, she just simply didn't know what to do with the time. I guess I can go to Hanabi and see if she needs to do anything today. Just as she was about to walk back to the Hyuga compound, a huge rumble was felt which she could literally swear shook the entire village of Konoha. What was that? She then ran to look around for the epicenter of where this all occurred. Finally, after a little running, she arrived to the Konoha hospital to see a large crater in the ground and a trail leading into the hospital. Not being able to deny her curiosity, she went to the entrance to investigate. Hey doctors! He needs immediate medical help right now. Get some people over here. Hinata instantly recognized who the voice belonged to, Naruto-kun. From everything she knew, Naruto wasn't able to make a jump this far due to massive power requirements it needed. But looking back at the crater, it was apparent that he did, and it was rather messy one due to the displaced ground he teleported on. Now entering the hospital, she saw the blonde with a couple of doctors around a very feminine-looking boy, and her friend trying desperately to get some immediate help. He then looked back to her. Hinata-chan. Thank God you here. I need your help now. Of course, she stuttered. What is it? Haku suffered some serious damage to his shoulder. But I managed to preserve him by placing him in a time loop, keeping him from death by preserving him in the last few minutes of his life. But I have to get back to the fight. If I leave now, the time loop will end. He then grabbed Hinata's hands. I need you to use your Jukin to help slow down the blood flow so he doesn't bleed out. Hinata slowly nodded as she approached the dying boy. Just as Naruto had said, the boy was experiencing one of his time jutsus, time loop or repeat, which kept an isolated pocket within spacetime repeating itself within a window of 2 minutes. The technique's general purpose was to place allies in stasis in case something happened to them. However, the drawback was that the watch needed to be close by to be them to keep it working. Now, as she looked to him, she was slightly scared at seeing so much blood everywhere. It just happened to be her luck that no other Hyugas were on the medical staff, as they were either at the compound or out on a mission, making her the only one there able to do something about it. Her hands began to shake at seeing how much pain the boy was in. I don't know if I can do it. Naruto then placed his hands on Hinata's shoulder to calm her down. You can do it, I know you can. But Naruto-kun, just breathe. Remember how you kept me from bleeding out my leg? Just focus at the correct chakra points to control the blood and you'll be fine. Hinata paused for a second, closing her eyes, taking in a deep breath before reopening them with renewed determination. I'll do what I can. Alright, stated Naruto. I have to go now. I've got an old bastard to beat the crap out of. As he said this, a strange orange glow appeared as he then disappeared to wherever he was going. The pale girl's eyes widened, but then immediately focused back on her task. I'll ask him later about that later. Okay. Get him to the ER. The head medical ninja then looked to Hinata, to which she easily saw their face twist into a frown. I really don't want an amateur in the operating room while we're working. But since there are no other Hyugas here, you're going to have to be the one to help control his blood flow as we stabilize him. Hinata nodded as it was clear to what she had to do. So arriving at the ER, she did her best to coordinate with the staff as they got to work setting up sutras to regenerate and close the wound, as she made certain that the boy's blood was going exactly where it needed to in his body. Of course, she was nervous as hell for being dropped into a situation like this all of a sudden, since all of this was new territory to her. At times, when she was about to freak out at hearing the sudden spikes in his heart monitor, she would take a deep breath and remember that Naruto and this boy were counting on her to save his life. Then finally, after an exhausting 1-hour surgery, operation is done, he is stable now. Hinata breathed out in relief, as she was worried the entire time that she would mess up and get the boy killed. Thank goodness that he'll be okay now. The medical ninja from before then approached her, removing their mask. Good job, kid. For a complete amateur, you did one hell of a lifesaver. Thank you, as she blushed at the compliment. If you ever decide to find work here, I'll definitely write you up a recommendation, to which Hinata nodded happily too. Ano, so will he really be okay? Yeah, but he'll have to rest for a week until he fully recovers. So overall, just let him rest peacefully and he'll be fine. Hinata then gave a polite bow as she then left with the knowledge she did good that day. Konoha, late evening. At this time, Hinata returned to the compound to rest for the day. Before returning, she was expecting Naruto to reappear with his team back to Konoha as he did before, but did not. At first she worried that something might have happened to him. But then she knew better than that, as she did have faith in Konoha's #1 unpredictable ninja. So she decided not worry, as she would wait for him to return. As she walked back to her room, her father summoned for her. So crossing by his door as she slid it open, "How was your day, Hinata?" asked Hayashi as he kept his usual stoic tone. Hinata looked up in thought, which soon turned to a smile. Just another usual day, father. The elder Hyuga blinked a few times at this before giving one his rare grins. Of course, as he then turned back to his desk. Good night, Hinata. Good night, father, to which the pale girl returned to her room, finishing yet another day in the village of Konoha. Konoha, afternoon. That's incredible, Naruto-kun complimented Hinata. You actually fought against an enemy ninja? Yeah, said Naruto excitedly. They were really tough and everything. But then he threw his pocket watch into the air as he caught it again. This really got me out of the pinch, as it helped. But what then happened? The blonde Jinchuriki looked up in thought as he recalled detail by detail how the mission went. On the way there, they were almost immediately ambushed by 2 water nians, but were easily dispatched by himself and Sasuke as Kakashi cleaned up the mess. But then almost immediately afterwards they encountered a powerful Jounin-level water ninja named Zabuza. During that encounter their teacher got captured by him, to whom both he and Sasuke managed to force him to retreat. Then later, after arriving in the village, a few stories were exchanged like what has been going on in the Land of Waves since Gato took over. It was also during this time that Kakashi taught the group how to stick and repel things using chakra. But then later that week the group patrolled the work site in the afternoon where they were attacked by Zabuza again accompanied by his apprentice Haku, which was a boy Naruto unknowingly met earlier that week. From there craziness ensued as Kakashi faced off against Zabuza again as he and Sasuke fought Haku. Interestingly, during Haku's mirror trick Sasuke's bloodline limit activated which gave them the edge to eventually overcome the ice user's mirror trap. After disabling him they then went to assist their teacher as Kakashi and Zabuza were deadlocked in a stalemate. Then after disabling him it was believed they had won the battle. However, it appeared that their employer Gato had other plans as he brought his own private army to silence them accompanied with its own artillery group. Another battle then ensued as they were bombarded by cannon shells. In one of the blasts, Haku was injured protecting Zabuza which forced Naruto to jump him back to Konoha for medical treatment. Then after returning he found that Inari along with Tazuna had convinced their village to fight for their freedom. In one colossal battle, victory was claimed as the mercenary force was easily crushed as Zabuza took Gato's head. "Man, that story never gets old," said Naruto, as he smiled to his pale friend. Literally this must have been the 5th time he told her as it's been 3 months since the Land of Waves mission. Hinata smiled at this. Although most people would have been sick already at hearing this story, the Hyuga heiress just enjoyed the energy Naruto exerted as he talked about his achievements. However, it still bothered her at how Naruto refused to or rather avoid telling her how he managed to teleport all the way back to Konoha then back again to Waves. But seeing that he was rather adamant about it, it was something she chose not to pry at until he was ready to share. That was the least she could do for him as she was his friend. "Hey! Let's go to Ichiraku. I hear that Tucci is serving a new kind of ramen this week." "Naruto-kun, eating so much ramen isn't good for you. You should be eating more vegetables in your diet." "But they do have vegetables in there," as he attempted to draw it out with his hands. "Naruto-kun," as Hinata gave him a calm look. The blonde Jinchuriki looked back as he scratched the back of his head. "Ah, don't give me that look, Hinata-chan." The pale girl continued to remain silent as she looked at him. Alright, already, I get it. I'll start getting more vegetables into my diet." "Thank you, Naruto-kun," smiled Hinata. "But on the condition that you have a ramen bowl with me right now," then said Naruto as he took her hand, dragging her off to the stand without even waiting for her answer. Although Hinata was slightly bashful at his actions, she soon gave a soft blush as a warm smile appeared. Before long she started walking side by side with him. They soon arrived to Ichiraka as they both took a seat. "Welcome," greeted Tucci. "The usual for you and your friend?" "Of course," eagerly nodded Naruto. "The same please, Tucci-san," said Hinata. The old chef nodded as he then looked to his daughter. "I am the usual for our usual customers." "Yes, father," chimed the brunette. After a few minutes their meal was served as their bowls were placed in front of them. Just before they were about to dig in, "May I join you for a while, Naruto-san?" The blonde turned to see a feminine-looking boy as he waved to him. "Hey Haku, so want to join us for a bite?" Haku nodded, giving a soft smile as he took his seat while ordering a bowl of miso. As the pair looked to the ice user they reflected on how things came to be. Since his recovery all he wanted to do was return back to Zabuza. The fact of the matter was the water jonin was a rogue who had a few brushes with the ninjas of Konoha, thus was imprisoned there for obvious reasons. For the most part his freedom was based on their scrutiny because of the fact he was a rogue and didn't belong to a village at the moment. Interestingly enough, he didn't seem to disagree with his treatment, as he practically took the imprisonment without a single word of argument. But why exactly he chose this was obvious to those who knew his reason. Simply he just wanted to give Haku a place to call home. Concerning the boy in question, he would visit his master at least once a day to talk to him about anything he could think of. But now concerning his ability to walk so freely around Konoha was based on two things. First was a sworn statement by Zabuza claiming Haku was just following his orders and would be no threat to them. Of course, the other reason was that he was a rare bloodline limit user of the Yuki clan, to which the Hokage personally asked him himself if he wished to become a ninja of Konoha. Although it touched Haku deeply to actually be wanted as such, he calmly chose to postpone it as he wanted to wait for Zabuza to be his teacher again if he were to be part of a genin team. In yet another surprising decision, the water jounin agreed, yet hesitant at first, to serve Konoha in such a capacity. But before that he would still need to serve out some of his prison sentence, as well as pass probation by other jonins before they even consider letting him near any children. But then at the thought of Zabuza teaching kids like Konohamaru put a sour face on Naruto. That would simply be too scary. Although he had faith after cracking his hard exterior that there was a good man in there, I would seriously suggest psychological help before letting him near kids. "Is there something wrong, Naruto-san?" asked Haku at seeing the strange look the blonde was giving. "No, nothing," said Naruto immediately as he waved his hands innocently. "So how is civilian life treating you?" asked Hinata. It's okay, replied the ice user. My current setup is fine. The apartment is well furnished, and I do work at a local grocery to help pay for my expenses. My boss is rather kind as she helps me understand a lot of things. Haku then looked up with a solemn expression. A place to call home, what a wonderful feeling it is. Naruto and Hinata couldn't help but feel happy for him. They were aware of the kind of lifestyle he had prior to meeting Zabuza, which was truly awful. At being alone for so long left him with some serious self-esteem issues. But now getting used to a life under the sun around people who wanted him, you can say in a way that this was what Haku was waiting all his life for. Good for him. By the way, then asked Hinata, have you made any new friends recently? The ice user almost choked on his ramen at the question. Well, about that. There he is. The three occupants looked back to see a small crowd of girls giving off a kind of scary fangirl aura as they slowly began to approach them like predators stalking prey. Can I get this to go, please? Asked Haku hurriedly. Yes, sure, replied Tucci. But I'll need a minute. I'll come back to pick it up later. As the feminine-looking boy quickly made a run for it as his ma began chasing after him. Wait, Haku-kun. We love you. Please wait. Haku-chan. As they ran away, by Haku, shouted Naruto. See you another time. He then looked back to Hinata as they shared a laugh with each other. At looking at the crowd, they could almost swear it rivaled the group that always followed Sasuke around. I guess he must be really happy now, smiled Hinata. I suppose so, but I think the fan group is a bit too much. He then leaned over to whisper to her. And I think it's kind of scary. What do you mean? She then questioned. It's because of his new friends that the grocery business he works at is really popular. Well, I'm aware of that, Naruto frowned. But I mean the kind of attention he gets. What do you mean by that, Naruto-kun? I mean. What is it, Naruto-kun? I wonder if some of the guys that go to him know, stressing the last word. That he is actually a guy. Naruto then looked up and thought. I mean, if Haku just chose not to dress so androgynously, and just picked a gender to dress as, then I'm pretty sure he would cut his fan group at least in half. Although he mistakenly thought he was a girl as well, but strategically kept that fact to himself. Hinata thought process paused for a moment. Then second by second her face began to turn red as she soon cupped her cheeks as her mind began to run wild at what she was thinking. Oh my. Hinata-chan? Asked Naruto, now concerned for his pale friend as he waved his hand in front of her. Are you feeling all right? Konoha, afternoon. Although either of them had anything to do that day, their respective teams were calling a group meeting, which was somewhat unusual. For the most part, the only reason they gathered was either for mission briefings or training together. But seeing that neither of them could be the case, Naruto couldn't help but wonder what would be so urgent to call us on our day off. Now at the bridge where they always met Kakashi, Team 7 waited patiently for their teacher to arrive, as they were quite aware of his tendency to be late. So as they waited, the three genins did their own individual thing as Naruto stared off into oblivion daydreaming about being the greatest Hokage. Sakura chatted with Sasuke trying to get his undivided attention, and Sasuke, he was looking at Naruto as his mind was immersed in thoughts concerning the blonde. Just what in the hell is he? He continuously thought. He was nothing special during the academy days, but now he's doing things I have never even seen before. Although he was never openly admitting it, he was becoming jealous of the progress the young blonde was making. For all these years, people would tell him how great he was or how much of a prodigy he was at being a ninja. To say the least, his ego fed off this attention, although he would never quite admit it. But now in the open ninja world, a kid he considered average at best was outshining him in so many ways. In the mission at Waves, for the people who saw would say that he did great for a genin. But for Naruto, he was spectacular. The blonde did a bulk of the work, as he was primarily his support when they defeated Haku and Zabuza. Sasuke was irked at this. What is his secret? There is no way that Dobe could be that fast or strong. Then recalling Naruto disappearing from the battlefield along with Haku, could his secret be time-space jutsu? He then mentally shook his head at this. There's no way a Dobe like that can know something that advanced. However, he still left that thought open as there was too strong of facts to disregard it. But then narrowing his eyes at Naruto, but still I should keep my eyes on him. He might prove useful later in helping me get what I want. After a few more minutes, Kakashi arrived to give his usual excuse of being late, with his students calling him out on it. But then after taking a moment to settle down, I guess you all are curious to why I called you here today. Yes, sensei, what did you want to tell us? Asked Sakura. The silver-haired Jonin soon pulled out 3 papers as he displayed it before them. I know it's kind of sudden, but I decided to nominate the three of you for the Chunin exams. What? The three genins then exclaimed as they couldn't believe what they just heard. Sasuke instantly corrected himself back to his stoic self. Sakura could only gape at the opportunity that was just dropped into their lap. Naruto couldn't help but feel ecstatic as his eyes twinkled in complete utter happiness. Are you serious, Kakashi-sensei? We can all take the Chunin exams? Are you sure about this, sensei? Then asked Sakura. Are we really ready for this? Kakashi once again recalled the conversation he had in the meeting just earlier that day about this same subject. He then closed his eyes before reopening them. That is up to all of you to decide on your own. Although I gave you a nomination, you must decide if you wish to take the test. If you do, please submit your application in room 301 by 4 p.m. next week this day. He then looked to Naruto before looking to his other students. I would also like to talk to Naruto alone for a moment, to which Sasuke and Sakura nodded, giving them their privacy. Kakashi then turned back to Naruto. Naruto, I want you to not use your watch during the course of this test. Huh? Why not? As he gave his teacher a confused look. I thought this test allowed the use of any ninja tool. True, but think of this as my test to you. Another test? Sighed Naruto. Why do I have to do that? Why not? Then smirked Kakashi. Don't you have enough faith in your own skills? The blonde fell silent to his question as he thought about it. So, giving his request its final push, don't worry, Naruto. I know you can pass this test using your own skills and abilities. Naruto brightened at the compliment as he smiled. Okay, Kakashi-sensei, to which he then clicked a few of the keys which inactivated the watch before pocketing it. I'll store it away in my room when I get back. Kakashi gave a nod of approval towards this. Truthfully, he wanted Naruto to develop more of his skills without the watch. Like his former master Minato, he took the time to develop his mind and body before going on to develop Hiraishin. In observing thus far, he feared that Naruto was becoming too dependent on the watch. There will be a day that Naruto won't have it, and if that day ever came, he didn't want to think about it. So for his benefit, he wanted the young blonde to make something of himself now. When he was truly ready, he would be something spectacular. Kakashi gave a soft grin. He'll definitely surpass his father someday, and with that he disappeared. Then, taking their cue, the team left as Sasuke and Naruto were giddy for the chance at advancement for their own reasons. However, their pink compatriot was another case as she looked down depressed. I can't do this, thought Sakura. I can't do anything. During her time at Waves, all she did was stay behind as she watched her team do the fighting. Even the only task of protecting civilians she could not do, as her teammates were forced to go back for her. This is hopeless, as she then sighed while sulking away. Naruto looked to Sakura in worry. In piling in all the information he was able to gather, he had an idea what could have been bothering the pink kunoichi. She must be really worried about the Chunin exams. Of course, he could have said something to cheer her up, but it would have been more effective if she heard it from someone else. He then turned to Sasuke. Hey, I think you should have a talk with Sakura. She seems really down. The young Uchiha grunted at this. Why should I? She's free to do whatever she wants. Hey! Don't be a jerk about this, Sasuke. She really needs someone to talk to her, and it would really mean something if it came from you. Sasuke glared at him as he didn't want to go through such a hassle. However, he did have a point. Although he wasn't interested in getting any closer to his teammates, Sakura was still part of the team. If one part failed, then they would all fail together. He then rolled his eyes as he conceded. Fine, I'll talk to her. Much obliged, smirked Naruto. He then quickly caught up with her as he was now walking by her side. She must really be down. Usually by now Sakura would have been talking away, trying to get his attention. He rolled his eyes again at the awkwardness he was forced into. Simply, he's never been the type to talk nor sympathize with others. But looks like now he was going to have to improvise it. Do you want to talk? As he averted his eyes while rubbing the back of his head. Sakura looked up as a small smile formed. Sure. They soon found themselves at a dango shop as they took a seat on the bench. Sasuke hunched over as he stared straight, while supporting himself on his arms. He didn't dare look at her, as he didn't really know how to connect with people. At best, his only connection with people was Naruto, who was sadly the closest thing he had to a friend in terms of a talking relationship. But thinking carefully now, he chose the words he wanted to use. So what has been bothering you? The pink kunoichi almost jumped a bit. She then looked to the boy as she waved her hands, trying to look as reassuring as possible. Nothing is bothering me. I'm just been a little tired lately. Sasuke would have gladly have taken that as an answer and left, but he knew Naruto would bother him later about this. So with another sigh, you're worried, aren't you? About the upcoming test, right? Sakura opened her mouth but then fell silent as she looked down, slightly depressed as she gave nod. The boy had a pretty good idea that she was now becoming self-aware of her weakness, and he had to agree at how pathetic she was as a ninja. However, he was at least respectful enough not to say it. He then closed his eyes and thought before reopening them. We have week before the test. Do you want me to help you train a bit? Eh? As she looked wide-eyed to him. You want me to train with you? Sasuke gave another sigh at how troubling things has just become. I should have just kept my mouth shut. Although he said it on impulse, he couldn't back out now. As he looked to the shining eyes of his teammate, I'm going to kick that dobe's ass when I see him. Hyuga compuned. Cool! Shouted Naruto. So your team will also be participating in the Chunin exams. Hinata nodded as she gave a soft smile. We're going to have to train extra hard this week. Yeah, I can't wait. The blonde smiled. So I don't have to come, right? Asked Hanabi, who was just passing by. But won't you miss Kono-kun? Who would miss that stupid monkey boy? As the young Hyuga soon stomped away. They chuckled at this before resuming their conversation. Since the exams are coming, we won't be having any missions this week. So do you want to train at our usual place and time? Hinata nodded happily to this. But then she looked up and thought as she just remembered something. I'm sorry, Naruto-kun, but I also told Kiba-kun and Shino-kun that I would train with them as well. That's alright, said Naruto. You can invite them to our training session. The more the merrier, right? The Hyuga heiress gave a soft sigh at this. Although she liked the suggestion, she also had a somewhat equal dislike of it. During these mornings she liked the time she spent alone with Naruto, as they were able to talk about anything they wished. Even with Konohamaru and her sister around, she always managed to find ways to sneak herself and Naruto away into the forest to have their alone time. However, knowing Naruto as well as she did, if he acted any other way he just wouldn't be him. Okay, Naruto-kun, I'll tell my team where to meet. Awesome. But what about your team? Wouldn't it be good to practice with them as well? Nah, those two are most likely doing their own thing. So I wouldn't want to bother them. Konoha, training grounds, morning. Naruto scratched his head, trying to comprehend how things ended up the way they did. Is there something wrong, Naruto-kun? Asked Hinata. The young blonde looked to his right. Well, I know why your team is here, because you invited them. But why are they here? Pointing to Sasuke and Sakura, who were present. Why? Is there a problem with us training here? Stoically asked the emo. Not exactly, flatly stated Naruto. But why did you have to kick me in the butt? As he rubbed his rear, trying not to feel offended. Just felt like it. Okay, so then why are they here? As he then pointed to the now present Ino, Shikamaru, and Chuji to his right. Well, I just thought it would be nice to get some training in before the big test, smiled Ino. Shikamaru yawned as he stepped forward. Actually, Sakura told Ino about the private lessons she was getting from Sasuke, emphasizing with his fingers. So she didn't want to be left out, as we ended up getting dragged along to authenticate her current story. Shikamaru! What a troublesome woman, as he then plugged his ears at the ranting he was getting. Well, as he scratched his cheek. I wasn't expecting this many people. But who cares, right? Let's all have a good morning, okay? What's the point? Everyone then looked to Shikamaru. What are you talking about? Asked Chuji as he was now looking up from his breakfast. The Shadow Nin rolled his eyes at this. If anyone actually bothered to look, there have been no rookies like us who's participated in the Chunin exams for the last 5 years. Why not? Shikamaru sighed. Who knows? There could be a ton of reasons why, but more importantly, it's bad news for us. What's that supposed to mean? It means, then started Sakura as she looked down, now slightly worried. All the participants this year are all seasoned ninjas who have a lot more experience with the missions they've been on. So that means... Yeah, we're up against Genins who are probably out of our league. At this information, the atmosphere felt as it had gotten colder around them. So what? Which caught everyone's attention as they looked to Naruto. It just means we have to work twice as hard so that they don't look down on us. Big words for a dobe, smirked Sasuke as he crossed his arms. What's wrong, jerk? Afraid of a little hard work? The young Uchiha glared at him before averting his eyes, trying to maintain his coolness. But Naruto-kun, weakly said Hinata. We only have a week to prepare. Do you really think that's enough time? Of course! Exclaimed Naruto. So let's get started. How about this, Naruto-kun? Asked Hinata. That's great, smiled Naruto. It's looking better and better each day. A week had easily flown by as the Rookie 9 was working diligently, more or less, rising to the challenge of the Chunin exams. At this time, Hinata was working on something new she was developing as she practiced on the river near a waterfall, while Naruto watched her perform her new jutsu. Incredible, Hinata-chan clapped Naruto. This new jutsu style is going to be great. Thank you, Naruto-kun, Hinata blushed. But are you going to be okay? I haven't seen you practice at all. What are you talking about? He then asked. I am right over there, as he pointed to his original self, who seemed to have been working hard at some strange jutsu in his hands along with a few other bunshins. The pale girl smiled as she admired how hard her friend was working. She soon exited the river as she made her way to the original as she crouched next to him, curious as to what he was doing. Naruto-kun? The blonde was sweating intensely as he concentrated to stabilize his technique. But at feeling the overwhelming effects, he dispelled the jutsu along with his bunshins as he flopped back to rest. Man, this technique is hard to use, he breathed out. I still need both my hands to do it. You're trying, calmly stated Hinata. You'll get it eventually. But at least you're not using the time echo to do it. Well, Kakashi-sensei told me to try passing this test without the use of the watch, and I'm not one to back down from a challenge. Besides, as Naruto gave a thoughtful look, the time echo is far too dangerous for anyone to use in any case whatsoever. Hinata nodded as she understood his reasoning. This learning technique did allow its user almost instantaneous access of whatever they wanted to learn. However, it wasn't as simple as that. Aside from fully learning the target jutsu, the user would also learn every path they would take it in due time. In Naruto's example, he learned every little detail of what Kage Bunshin could do, and in time any pathway he could imagine of taking Kage Bushin, which resulted into Bakuretsu Bunshin no Jutsu. But as great as it all sounded, he was taking years to decades of learning and squeezing it down to seconds. The strain it had on its user was severe. In one bad effect, the user could end up in a coma or worse, dead from overwhelming the mind. So to say Naruto was playing it safe and learning his new jutsu brought relief to her, as he didn't want her to worry. By the way, Naruto-kun, I've never seen a jutsu like this before. It uses no hand seals at all. Naruto tilted his head to look to her before looking back to the treetops. Well, it was just something written in my dad's notes of combining this technique with the raw power of time. He theorized something amazing might be born from it, but it ended up being one of the few things he didn't finish in the end. But you should be at least happy of being able to use the technique freely now. I suppose, but the notes said it was done with one hand. Naruto gave a sigh at this. But the exams are tomorrow. So I guess it'll have to do for now. But do you think it'll be enough? Well, I know Kakashi-sensei told me not to use my watch, as he gave a slight grin. But it didn't stop me from writing up a few seal formulas in the event of an emergency. Naruto gave a soft chuckle. Well, you never know what can happen, right? Hinata smiled softly as she nodded to this. But then she looked aside in uncertainty. Naruto-kun, do you really think we're ready for this test? There's going to be a lot of experienced genins there, and I but was stopped at feeling her friend's warm hand over hers, which caused her to blush slightly. We'll be fine, Hinata-chan. We've worked really hard this week. The reason we'll pass is because we want it the most, as Naruto gave his usual confident smile. He then gave Hinata's hand a slight squeeze. Just make sure you'll be there with me when we get to the finish line. The pale girl blinked at this before giving a soft smile. Of course, Naruto-kun. I'll see you at the finish line. But before anything else could happen, a giant explosion was felt as the pair looked out to see a mushroom-like cloud appear from nearby. Do you think? Yeah, as Naruto gave an uneasy laugh. Probably a bad idea to leave them all alone with each other. Konoha, training grounds, early afternoon. Sasuke and Shino were going at it like there was no tomorrow. From an outside point of view, it almost looked like they were trying to kill each other based on how hard they were fighting. But on the contrary, they were having the time of their lives at how much they were exerting themselves to beat the other one down. Meanwhile, the other part of the Rookie 9 were watching the epic battle that was going on. Can't believe they're going through this much trouble over a simple sparring match, yawned Shikamaru. And I can't believe I got dragged out here for a straight week when I could have spent this time sleeping in. I didn't mind then, added Chuji. Hinata's cooking was great. I can't believe Naruto eats stuff like this every morning. Lucky guy, said Kiba, slightly tired after their morning run. But I guess it was a good bonding experience with everyone. Although it was kind of funny to see Hinata's dad surprised when he saw us all at his table on day one. Chuji gave a light laugh. I'm surprised he didn't tell us all to get out. Hyuga compound. Hayashi was calmly reading his paper until he let out a sneeze. Then, rubbing his nose, he continued to turn the page of his paper. Damn kids. Konoha, Training grounds, early afternoon. I can't believe Naruto and Hinata did this kind of training for almost half a decade, said Sakura as she was breathing heavily. This regime is insane. What? Too hard for you, breathed out Ino, trying to act superior. That's what you get, forehead girl, for trying to compete with the best. Oh yeah, Ino pig. I challenge you to a fight right now. Will you girls keep it down, sighed Shikamaru. I'm trying to get some rest here. As some more bickering occurred, Sasuke and Shino were done with their match. We'll settle this eventually, said the young Uchiha as Shino gave a simple nod. What happened here? Everyone looked to see Naruto, and Hinata arrived, curious to what the big explosion was. Unable to resist, the girls just had to let them have it. If anything, this was one of the few things Sakura and Ino agreed on, which was teasing the pair whenever they were gone for so long. So what were you two up to? Asked Ino. Naruto grew slightly uncomfortable at how the Yamanaka girl was saying it. What do you mean? We were just training, added in Hinata. Sure then, said Sakura. You were practicing all right, as she looked to Ino, who understood the cue as they looked at each other, giving off kissy faces. Stop that, then said Naruto, slightly flushed. Hinata-chan and I are just friends. Oh, kiss me more, Hinata-chan, teased Ino, as she started to make more kissy sounds with Sakura. Hinata began to turn redder at the implication as she started to poke her fingers in nervous habit again. Ino-san. Sakura-san. Please stop. Konoha, the next day. It was now the day of the exams as the Rookie 9 departed with their own teams towards the testing site. At this time in the afternoon, Naruto was walking with his team towards the designated area. It was a nice week, the blonde widely smiled. Sakura gave a nod. It was good to spend time with everyone like that outside the Ninja Academy. Sasuke remained silent, but gave a slight nod. Although he didn't want to admit it, he kind of liked being a part of something again, like he used to be when he was young. Whatever. Oh come on, Sasuke, I know you liked it, as the blonde began nudging his arm with his elbow. Shut it. Come on, smirked Naruto. I noticed the extra time you were spending with Sakura, which caused the pink kunoichi to flush a bit as her ears perked as she listened in. I know you liked it. And noticing how Sakura was listening, and Sasuke was beginning to feel embarrassed at being put on the spot as he then swung his fist at Naruto, to which he dodged as he began to run off. Got to be faster than that if you want to beat me in the Chunin exams. You dope! As Sasuke grew agitated as he began chasing him. Hey, wait up, guys! As Sakura ran after them. The trio soon arrived to the admission site as they began climbing the stairs. But as they got further up, they saw a huge group of people standing in front of a doorway, which caused them to look at them questionably before looking up at the floor designation. They then looked at each other curiously before looking back at the group as they decided to approach them. Why are they standing there like that? Asked Naruto. How would I know? Then said Sasuke. And why do we even have to bother with them? Well, I would also like to know why they are all standing there, said Sakura. As they looked over the group, they saw many genin ninjas several years older than them standing in front of a door seemingly guarded by 2 other ninjas. In front of them were 3 familiar faces. Tenten-san, said Sakura. Why is your team standing in front of this door? That's because these guys are blocking our way from entering the exam area, replied the weapon mistress. And we're going to be late at this rate. Then why are you guys waiting around here for? Then asked Naruto. Well, we could force our way through, said Lee. But that would be very impolite of us to do. The blonde then looked to see Neji, giving him an indifferent look as he soon turned away to look at the door. Now he knew Neji didn't have any beef with him. However, there was slight resentment, seeing as he associated with the main branch, which caused slight tension to build between the two. Although he wasn't being outwardly hostile, he was still being indirectly hurtful towards Hinata, and that was something he needed to fix. But it was put on hold indefinitely as Hinata did not want him to intervene. He then looked back to Lee. Why are you waiting here? What do you mean? He then asked. The testing site is here at room 301. Sasuke, now growing irritated, refused to tolerate this farce for another moment longer. Seeing as they too were going to be late, he decided to let the cat out of the bag. If any of you dimwits haven't been paying attention, this is the 2nd floor. So how can room 301 be here? At noting this, everyone looked up to see as the genjutsu wore off, as the sign once saying 301 had now changed to 201. Tenten scratched her cheek at the realization. How did I end up getting tricked by genjutsu like that? Neji gave a slight grunt as he turned away. Let's go, to which his team soon left, followed by everyone else. But not before Lee decided to flirt with Sakura only to be flatly shot down. As everyone climbed up to the next floor to the correct room, they were once again stalled by another event. Please let me fight you. The trio looked to Lee with a dumbfounded expression. Me? Both echoed Sasuke and Naruto. The green beast then got into fighting stance. I wish to challenge this year's #1 rookie. But more so, I want to challenge the great Uchiha name. Lee wanted to prove that hard work could defeat genius. In beating people like Sasuke and his teammate Neji, it would prove just that. This guy can't be serious, thought Sakura. We really don't have time for this. There's only a few minutes left before the test begins. Sasuke then stepped forward. If he wants a fight, then I'll give him one. But before he could proceed further, a hand was placed on his shoulder. We can deal with this another time, said Naruto. I'd hate to miss the test because of something like this, and I know you wouldn't want that either. Sasuke grunted at this. I can deal with him just fine. I only need 5 minutes. Naruto then grabbed his collar. If you want to be a jerk, then be a jerk on your own time. But we are not going to be late for this test. And besides, why should we waste time fighting Fuzzy Brow anyways? It wouldn't be fair using ninjutsu against him. Then pardon my rudeness, then interjected Lee. But ninjutsu or not, I'm confident I can beat you both at the same time with just my taijutsu. At statement, silence permeated for a moment. Sakura. What? 5 minutes as Naruto stepped forward, cracking his knuckles. If anything, he didn't like anyone calling him weak in any form or way. He was certainly not going to start now. I can deal with this on my own, bluntly said Sasuke. No, Fuzzy Brows is mine. The young Uchiha then looked at their opponent, as he gave a slight smirk. Fine, whoever takes him down first can have the bragging rights. Suits me. As Naruto charged in first, followed closely by Sasuke. Lee was not the least bit impressed. As his Kuhais charged him, by his eyes they might as well have been walking. As Naruto came in first, he flicked his wrist, parrying him away as Sasuke then came in with a swift kick but was promptly blocked. Then from behind, Naruto went for a leg sweep only for him to jump into the air as he grabbed Sasuke's shoulders. Using his body's momentum, flung the young Uchiha away only for him to rebalance as he kicked off the floor back at him. He wasn't kidding as Sakura watched the match. Lee easily had both her teammates on the edge of their toes as they were barely keeping up with him. Furthermore, it appeared the green beast wasn't even trying as he dodged and parried them. If this is the level of genins this year, then this test is going to be hard. However, but we're not being serious yet either. Wow, he's tough, as Naruto wiped his forehead. No, you're just too slow, mocked Sasuke, even though he was breathing heavily as well. Shut up. If this is all you got, then you are definitely not worthy of your title, said Lee. The young Uchiha grew irritated at his mockery, but kept his cool as he straightened himself up. He then closed his eyes and thought before reopening them. Hey Dobe, you know that teamwork crap we worked on during the week? The one Kakashi-sensei keeps telling us to do? Yeah? What of it? Let's see how it works now. Naruto blinked at this before letting out a smirk. Alright, you're on. At this they both got into their stance, readying themselves to attack. Lee focused as he then steadied himself. Here they come, I might have to use that technique, as the wraps on his arm began to become undone. Just when they were about to go, hold it. Everyone then stopped what they were doing to see a giant talking tortoise. Okay, said Naruto, looking to the said reptile. Right. Lee looked slightly scared as he quickly kneeled before the tortoise. Please forgive me, but I thought this technique was enough, stated the tortoise adamantly. You should have known better not to use your special technique in such trivial matters like this. Yes. As Lee quivered at the tongue lashing. Are you prepared to pay? Yes. Then here is Gai-sensei. In that moment the trio could only gape as their eyes popped open in shock as a now extremely flamboyant-looking ninja appeared on the turtle's back. Naruto could only stare at this new turn of events. Maybe this might be why Neji has been cranky lately. In one unanimous thought between the three, those are some thick eyebrows. You fool! As Guy then punched Lee out of the blue. Sensei, as Lee held his cheek. There is no need to say it, as tears began to pour out, to which the younger green beast followed too. Then a moment later the two embraced in a rather passionate way. Lee! Guy-sensei! As this was going on, that is totally freaky, they all thought unanimously again. I'm going now, said Sasuke plainly, as his two teammates had to agree. As they tried to make a swift exit. Hold it! As the elder green beast appeared right behind them. The trio could only look in shock to how freakishly fast the weirdo was. So you're Kakashi's kids, huh? Well, I promise you, to this smile as it gave an unusual twinkle, that there will be no more further problems. He then gave a thumb up. So get going to class now. Just before flickering away. Good luck, Lee. Yes, Guy-sensei. As he immediately retied his wraps and started to depart. I came here to test myself to prove that hard work can overcome genius. Lee then looked at them. We'll settle this in due time. So be prepared during the exams. As he soon disappeared at blinding speed. Sakura looked to her teammates only to be met with dead silence. Are you guys okay? Just fine, as Naruto looked up with a smirk. This is going to be fun, said Sasuke, equally as excited. The pink kunoichi nodded as she too was getting the chills of wanting to give her all for this test. As they proceeded up, they were met by their teacher wishing them a last-minute good luck as they then proceeded inside. Upon entering, they were met with the rest of the Rookie 9 as they gave their pleasantries. Then a fellow leaf ninja by the name of Kabuto approached them, giving some senpai advice of how tough this year's exams were going to be. For the next few minutes they were met with uneasiness at seeing the competition they were facing, as some of them attempted to start trouble with the Rookie 9. But then everything came to a standstill as a huge explosion of smoke occurred at the front of the room, as then the Chunin exam instructors appeared. The head proctor, going by Ibuki Marino, then sat everyone down to their assigned seats as he went on to explain the rules of this test, as it would be one of three. First would be they started with 10 points, second would be for every incorrect answer they lose points, and third, every time they're caught cheating they'd lose 2 points. In the event of having a 0, your entire team is disqualified. But it quickly became apparent that no one could answer any of these questions, as it was literally impossible to do with what little information they had concerning what was asked. But to those who were wise enough understood that there was another test to this test, which was for them to show their abilities to gather information. But in lamest terms, it simply meant who could cheat without getting caught. As people started getting picked off one by one, more of the skilled ninjas had already found a way to cheat without too much trouble. But in one particular blonde's case, he simply sat calmly at his desk as if refusing to do anything. I have to wait, I just have to, thought Naruto. Looking at his current circumstance, he didn't have the Byakugan like Hinata, the Sharingan like Sasuke, watcher tools like Kiba or Shino, or special jutsus like Ino. Going over his assets, his best bet then was using Kage Bushin in conjunction with Heike no Jutsu to either impersonate an instructor or one of the testers to learn what the answer was. However, he couldn't risk it as he didn't know how the penalty system worked. So looking back at his ninja pouch, there were 4 rolled up scrolls. Then being careful, he removed one of them, unrolling it, revealing an intricate seal formula. I have to wait till the last moment. According to the test, the 10th question would be revealed after the 45-minute mark. So looking around carefully, he spotted a few people who were done, and not able to wait any longer. It's now or never. As he applied his chakra to the seal, Hinata peeked over to see that Naruto's answer sheet was half filled as he began quickly scribbling down his answer. Some of the proctors who were watching weren't even sure what happened. They knew something was off as half the sheet was instantly filled. However, they couldn't mark him on it as really they didn't see anything to prove cheating. Naruto slightly frowned. I can't believe I had to use one. What he used was a time seal, which were designed to be multifunctional with the ability to replace some of the effects his watch. However, the problem was they were designed only to be temporary, as they only had 1/8 of the power his watch had and would burn out almost immediately after use. Not to mention it took him hours just to write one of them, which was a headache in and of itself. But seeing as this was just the beginning of the Chunin exams and he was forced to use one of his time seals, I have to be more conservative with him. Although he had other tricks he needed to conserve his ace if something worse were to happen down the road. Okay. We will now begin the 10th question, stated Ibuki, which got everyone's attention. But for this question there are some special rules. As he went on, everyone began to feel the atmosphere dense around them at how bad things were looking. On one hand, if they refuse they fail. If they get the question wrong, then they would be stuck as genin forever. Weighing out their choices, many made the safer bet on quitting now to be able to take the test in the next 2 years. Although everyone was scared, it did not deter Naruto the least bit. In one courageous statement all doubts were swept aside. Upon no more flunkies, they all passed the test, which caused uproar amongst many of them. In response, Ibuki began to explain the qualities of what it meant to be a Chunin, as those who didn't have the guts to put their destinies on the line were not worthy of the title. As Naruto heard all this, I can't believe I wasted a time seal for nothing. But before anyone realized it, something came crashing through the window as a giant black banner was flung up, revealing yet another interesting character. There's no time to celebrate yet. I am the examiner of the second exam, Anko Mitarashi. So follow me and let's get this thing started. Bad timing, said Ibuki bluntly. And that window is coming out of your next paycheck, which caused Anko to flinch a bit. So after some awkwardness, the strange lady explained the next part of their test, which was basically kill or be killed, as this was a no-hold-bars contest to make it to the end alive with what you needed, as each team needed 2 scrolls to pass this test. But firstly they would need to sign a waiver confirming their acknowledgement of the kind of crap they would jumping into so as to avoid any blame further on. So after turning in their submissions, Naruto received their Earth Scroll, as they were then instructed to pick a gate to enter from. Forest of Death, huh? Said the blonde as he looked out to the massive woods. The appearance was one thing, but the aura of the forest was quite unique. The place felt old, really old. Anyone with good senses could tell many dark and dangerous creatures lurked within them. Is everything alright, Naruto-kun? Naruto looked to Hinata as he gave her a reassuring smile. Yeah, but then scratched his cheek, well, sort of. Is there something wrong? The blonde could only give a slight nod at this. As dangerous as the forest was, the people they were up against were no joke either. Looking around, the caliber of the ninjas they were going to face was definitely no pushovers. Aside from having a vague idea at how tough Niji's team was, another team concerned him as well. Looking over, he saw the hidden sand ninjas getting ready to leave through their gate. As tough as he knew the guy with the makeup was, as well as the girl with the giant fan, their red-headed companion felt much different. Just looking at him, he seemed really dangerous. Somewhere deep down he knew this to be true, as something about him just reeked of horrors he couldn't even imagine. He then looked to Hinata as he reached back into his ninja pouch. Hinata-chan, I want you to take one of my time seals. Eh? Why? I just have a bad feeling this test is going to get really messy, and I don't want anything bad to happen to you. Hinata gave a slight nod as she gave a soft smile. Thank you, Naruto-kun, but you don't have to worry. Shino-kun and Kiba-kun will be with me. Well, just take it just in case, alright. The pale girl looked to him for a moment before nodding. Alright. Naruto smiled. We better get going then, and remember what you promised me, Hinata-chan. To meet you at the finish line. Alright. Good luck, and I'll see you there. As each team prepped themselves ready to go, the rookie 9 each departed into their own separate gates. But unknown to Team 7, a very ominous figure was watching them. Soon, very soon, Sasuke. I will have you. Forest of Death. A man under the guise of a ninja hidden in the grass watched in cold calculation as each genin team entered through their gates. But his interest was more focused on a particular team which was entering through a gate nearby. This man had his eye on Sasuke Uchiha, the last member of his clan with the ultimate eye technique without equal. This particular man wanted those eyes for himself. However, having the eyes would not be the same as owning them. Implanting the Sharingan eyes always left them on by default, which exhausted chakra faster. So to reap the best benefits without the drawbacks, he needed to own his body. To do this, he needed to ensnare him in a carefully woven trap to make certain he commanded his absolute obedience. Knowing his history with his brother and clan, he already had a plan in play. Orochimaru, the snake Sannin formerly of Konoha, could hardly contain his excitement. His dream was to be the greatest ninja who had ever lived. With the power to bend the world to anything he wished it to be, his eagerness could only be matched by his patience. Soon, Sasuke Uchiha, you will be mine. So taking his cue, his team entered the forest, making haste to find Team 7 to begin the first step of his plan. Forest of Death. The Ino Shikacho trio were now leaping through the forest, careful not to be spotted while simultaneously keeping a lookout for a group that could have their scroll. Come on, guys! Called Ino excitedly. Let's quickly get a scroll and get to the finish line. But don't you think we should make sure we have the proper food provisions? Asked Chuji. We might get stuck here longer than we planned. If it's going to be that troublesome, why don't we just take a scroll from Naruto's or Hinata's group, said Shikamaru, which earned him a glare from his team. I'm just saying. Well, there wouldn't be any point though then, said the husky ninja. Our 3 teams have the same scroll. So there really isn't any point to go after them. True then, said Ino. Plus it would be in rather bad taste after the week we spent together. The boys nodded at this. Well, let's just be the first to finish then. That'll show who the best amongst the rookie 9 is. Shikamaru and Chuji could only sigh in agreement as they had no choice but to follow along. Team 8 definitely had an advantage in this particular test. Shino's bugs were used for reconnaissance as well as sensory. Kiba's nose could sniff out danger as his dog Akamaru could gauge the strength of his opponents. Hinata's eyes could see if an opposing team had what they needed, thus reducing their need to oppose an enemy team unnecessarily. By the way, Hinata asked Kiba, what's that thing Naruto gave you? The pale girl gave a strange chuckle at this. Just a good luck charm. Well, if you say so. Shino and Kiba knew it was partly a lie, as the three of them were trained to check for deception with their unique talents. However, in this particular case they knew it wasn't exactly a lie, but it wasn't entirely the truth either. But since she was their teammate, it was best to leave it is. Now safely packed away in her ninja bag was one of Naruto's time seals. Of course she knew how to use it, as she was the one who practically invented it. In learning with Naruto, she had a fair understanding of how the seal formulas worked. But as useful as this ninja tool was, it wasn't designed for her. Due to mass consumption of how much chakra it needed to power it, she was better off sticking to her own techniques. But looking at her current circumstance, it didn't hurt to have one just in case. "Let's move quickly," said Shino. "Victory favors the bold." At this notion they spotted a group whose plates said they were from the village hidden in the sand. Forest of Death. One crazy event after another, sighed Naruto as he finished beating down his current opponent. "What did you think? Everyone is desperate to pass and only half will make it to the next test," said Sakura as she delivered her finishing kick to the opposing ninja. "Waste of time then," said Sasuke at finishing his opponent. "They didn't even have the scroll we needed, let alone their own." "Probably got theirs stolen early on," said the pink kunoichi. "It's bound to happen. But we have to be more careful from now on." Naruto and Sasuke nodded at this. It was understood that this was a survival mission to whom everyone was pitted against each other. This meant conserving as much as possible, as this was a dog-eat-dog competition to which if you were too weak to continue there would be a good chance of either defeat or even death. "Man, this stinks," said the blonde, throwing a slight tantrum. "We have to run from fights like cowards." "Don't be such a dope then," said Sasuke. "Who knows what is up ahead? So it's best that we stay as fresh as possible." Although he partly had to agree with Naruto, for he hated running from a fight. "Boys," Sakura could only sigh as she knew that was probably what they were most likely thinking. Even though she felt Sasuke was the most mature in their group, she sometimes wondered if she was the more mature one when it came to problem solving. "Well, let's get going then." So they went as Team 7 ventured through the forest, being careful not to run into any dangers. Although they were worried about opposing teams, the forest was equally as dangerous, as there were leeches the size of cats, bugs as big as them, man-eating plants looming around, and many other things they didn't want to closely look into. But seeing they weren't going to make any more progress that day, the team decided to make camp for the night at a place they believed would be safe. Sakura gathered the wood as Naruto caught their dinner while Sasuke lit the fire. "Katon! Fireball no jutsu!" as the young Uchiha spat out a small burst of flame, lighting the fire as Naruto stuck 6 fishes around them. Sakura took a seat as she looked into the blaze as the light of the fire reflected in her eyes. "You know," as a soft smile formed, "I never really thought about it. But it's nice spending time like this with you guys." Naruto smiled at this as he turned the fishes around. "I suppose," said Sasuke stoically. Although he didn't want to admit it, this bonding time was beginning to grow on him. Of course, at first he detested it, as it was all a means to an end for what he wanted. But after spending time with the other rookie 9, he started to feel something he hadn't felt for a very long time, which was a sense of belonging. Hell, even Sakura's annoyingly attentive personality began to grow on him. However, this was all stuff he kept to himself. "Hand me a fish." After their meal, the trio slept in shifts to make certain they didn't get ambushed in their sleep. But by the time morning came, they were off again. However, unknown to them, someone was watching them the entire time. "What the plan?" asked Sakura. "We only have 4 days left to complete this test, not to mention make our way to the center area." "Simple," Sasuke smirked. "All we need to do is find the team with our scroll and get it." Naruto folded his arms behind his head. "Stop trying to act cool, jerk. You have no idea how we're supposed to do that, since we have no idea who has the Heaven Scroll." TSK, whatever, as he still kept his cool. Although Naruto was still annoyed by this personality quirk, Sakura being the adolescent girl she was found his rebellious behavior to be very cool. As the pink kunoichi continued to absent-mindedly fawn over the young Uchiha, she then noticed her teammates had stopped moving. "Guys? What's wrong?" The blonde looked serious, as did Sasuke. "Did you feel that?" "Yes, something's close." At first confused, Sakura now knew what it was as she started to feel a low rumble. "What is that?" "I don't know," said Naruto warily. "But whatever it is then," continued Sasuke, "there's no point in running. For whatever it was big from the chakra presence they felt as they were completely surrounded by it." The rumbling continued to grow stronger as Team 7 started to grow tenser to discover what this big presence was. "Where the hell could it be?" asked Naruto, looking around as his face started to reflect worry. "I don't know." For Sakura could feel her knees shaking. As much as she commanded them to stop, she could not deny she was starting to get scared. Where the hell is it? Stressed Sasuke. In his analysis, something didn't seem right. He didn't sense anything move around him. But if that was the case, then where could this thing be? Soon realization came to him, but a bit too late as the attack was already upon them. Move! Surprise came from underground as an enormous snake shot out, gobbling the blonde that was in his path. Naruto! His teammates called, but it was too late to reach for him. So salvaging what he could do, Sasuke grabbed Sakura as he jumped them both back. Sasuke-kun! What about Naruto? But as they looked, the snake had already began slithering away faster than they could chase it. That dope! But before they could plan their next move, it's a pleasure to finally meet you in person, Sasuke Uchiha. The pair then looked to see a very intimidating-looking ninja before them. Although he was supposed to be a genin, his presence felt much stronger than that. Sakura could feel the killing intent the ninja was giving as she felt her body freeze at his aura. I think we might be in trouble. Forest of Death. Let me the hell out of here, you stupid snake! Screamed Naruto as he was barely succeeding in keeping the reptile from swallowing him. In the brief moment before the attack, he saw as their attacker was clearly a giant snake. But something this big living in the forest was just unbelievable. Nevertheless, he was more concerned with getting out alive than thinking why this snake decided to make him lunch. But he was barely hanging on as the snake's saliva did not allow him to use chakra to stick to anything, and his hands were barely hanging onto the reptile's fangs. As he continued to struggle, he was also forced to wrestle with the snake's tongue as it was successful in grabbing his leg, pulling him in. Naruto clenched as now he was getting pissed. Alright, you stupid snake. You want a meal, I'll give you a meal. But I hope you like it spicy. To which he then dropped in. From outside the snake, it had a satisfied look on its face. But soon a questionable look appeared as it then looked in pain. Its body soon expanded before normalizing a moment later. It then opened its mouth as smoke shot out as it soon passed out. Forest of Death. Sasuke was battling like hell against the enemy ninja, but felt how futile it was. In one move, their opponent launched a powerful genjutsu which caused both he and Sakura to pause in fear at feeling the cold hand of death on their shoulder. However, the young Uchiha refused to go down like this as he recovered quickly and started his counter. The thought of running did cross his mind. But seeing the kind of state his pink teammate was still in, he couldn't abandon her like that. So he began to fight as his life did quite literally depended on it. Orochimaru was pleased thus far at what he was seeing. Sasuke's physical parameters were well above his expectations of what he wanted when he took his body for his own. Sasuke could tell his opponent wasn't taking him seriously. But he's going to regret not doing so. So pulling out several wires and shurikens, he launched them all with high precision. Then seeing the moment was right, he merged all the wires together around him as it swirled around the enemy, binding him to a tree, creating one wire in front of him. Katon! Dragon Fire no Jutsu! To which in one stream of fire his opponent was immersed in flames, as he appeared to be burning alive. That ought to show him, he breathed out in relief. But his eyes then snapped open as a snake emerged from the flames, shooting right at him. I won't move in time. Just as the snake was an inch away from biting him, the hell you don't. Right before the young Uchiha's eyes, Naruto appeared, grabbing it as it started to snap in front of his face. How did you get here? Questions later, just get this thing out of my face. As the snake's attention was now focused on Naruto as it started trying to bite him. Sasuke immediately snapped out of his stupor as he grabbed for the snake head as well. But in doing so, both boys were then pulled forward towards their enemy as he then grabbed them both by the neck in a chokehold, showing great ease as he held them both up. The boys struggled to get free but were unable to, as it was clear they were completely out of their league in strength against the man they were facing. Foo, how entertaining you've both been. But I'm afraid I will have to cut this short now. The man then reopened his mouth as his tongue started to transform back into a snake. You thought, Naruto, as he then reached back to his ninja pack. Looks like I have no choice but to use my last time seal. In getting so far from his team, he needed to get back to them as soon as possible, as the snake attack seemed to have more purpose to just be a coincidence. With his last time seal, he planned to do whatever he could to end this fight. Orochimaru, easily spotting his move, whacked his hand, which caused him to drop the scroll. Foo, interesting. How did you escape from the snake I sent to eat you? Naruto grunted as he gave a smirk. Wouldn't you like to know? It doesn't matter, as I'll be starting with you soon, as his snake began inching closer to Sasuke. As the young Uchiha eyed the reptile with slight fear, relief washed over him at seeing a kunai fly right by his shoulder, stabbing the snake in the throat. Oh. Orochimaru screamed. Both boys were then released as they fell flipping to correct their balance as they stuck themselves to the tree. Naruto looked to see his scroll. Sakura! The scroll! Throw it to me! The pink kunoichi body flickered to it as she picked it up and threw it. The blonde caught it as he unbundled it. Hey, Sasuke, got my back? Why? Got a plan? Yeah, keep him busy. Sasuke dashed forward, shooting multiple fireballs to which Orochimaru easily swatted away. Then sending his snake tongue out again, he was surprised he didn't have to move as his other teammate had him covered. Don't forget that I'm here too, said Sakura as her kunai-connected wire was successful in binding the snake tongue. Annoying pest as he flicked his tongue, lifting the pink kunoichi, throwing her aside. Sasuke re-engaged the man, shooting more fireballs at him. Hey Dobe! Any day now! Just get me near him. I'll cover you both, as Sakura pulled out several shurikens and kunais. Alright. Let's do this. To which their plan commenced. These brats are starting to become quite the pests. Orochimaru couldn't believe it. 3 little genins just barely out of the academy was giving a war veteran like himself this much trouble, annoyances. Sakura threw several kunais, forcing Orochimaru to dodge. At waiting for this moment, Sasuke came face to face with him, giving him the best genjutsu he knew, but knowing that wouldn't hold him for long, he had no choice but to depend on whatever Naruto was planning. Orochimaru punched Sasuke away as he rubbed his eyes at receiving the full brunt of it. I'll make you pay for that. But then felt a hand on his chest. The snake man looked down to see a seal formula on him with the blonde's hand placed over it. Be gone! Naruto commanded, and with that their opponent disappeared, to which his scroll turned to ash. At seeing the enemy ninja nowhere in sight, the trio quickly found a safe place to recuperate as they went over what just happened. There's no way a guy like that could have been a genin, said Sakura. He was way too powerful to be just that. Agreed, said Sasuke. For in facing him, that man was at least as strong as Kakashi. Probably even stronger from what he felt. He then looked to the blonde with scrutinizing eyes. Naruto, what did you just do back there? Naruto choked at the question. Just a new trick I learned. What kind of trick is that? Then questioned Sakura. I've never seen anything like it before. Well, it was just something I've been working on. Sasuke felt irked at the blonde's attitude in trying to avoid the question. So deciding to just spill it out for him, you just performed the time-space jutsu, didn't you? There's no way you could have just appeared like that before with a body flicker. Plus whatever you did to that guy was unlike any jutsu I have ever seen. Time-space jutsu? Naruto? Said the pink kunoichi unbelievably. There's no way he can do something like that. However, the young Uchiha kept his glare. There was no way he was going to let Naruto skate by on this one. In seeing his track record, his blonde teammate was doing things that should be by all intents and purposes impossible. At this time, he demanded the truth. If he chose to keep prolonging it, then there was definitely going to be a problem between them. At seeing the questioning eyes his teammates were giving him, he could only sigh as he had no choice but to fold, as prolonging the truth any further was going to cause problems. Yeah, it's true. Sakura stared as she could only gape at the confession. No way, you were capable of such things? That kind of stuff in Jounin level work? As she was still in utter disbelief at what she was hearing. Sasuke continued to keep his glare as a bit of jealousy began to spur in him. Naruto waved his hands at this. Well, it's not like I know it. What's that supposed to mean? Well, as he scratched the back of his head. My dad left all this research for me which I was able to look at. All I did was decipher what some of the formulations did and rest noting the things he's done before his history. He then began giving a nervous chuckle. So basically I understand how to use it, but I don't understand how it works. Wow, said Sakura as she reflected at every miraculous thing she had ever seen Naruto do. That's one hell of a thing to inherit. Thinking about it now, what ninja could have been working on time-space research? Time-space manipulation was still a relatively new field in ninja research, even though it's been around for so long. Only a small handful of people in Konoha were even looking into it due to how dangerous the research was. In that thought she could only ponder, who is Naruto's dad? However, at the confirmation of his suspicions, Sasuke had other thoughts. I need to get my hands on that research with such power at his fingertips. Revenge would not be just a dream anymore. But it was something that had to wait till later, as now they were still in the middle of a test, and doing something antagonistic to his own teammate now could prove to be quite conducive to his goal in gaining power. He then got up. We'll talk about this later. Oh, by the way, Naruto asked Sakura as a certain thought came to mind. How did you escape from that snake? Let's just say I gave it heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, and diarrhea all at the same time. Okay, so how did you escape? Let's not talk about it, as the blonde grimaced at the sheer thought of it. At that statement, Sasuke and Sakura could only show an expression of disgust as they realized what his statement implied. You. So what now? Then asked Sakura. Without knowing our surrounding territory, we have no idea what to do next. Although logically it would make sense to wait near the finish line to steal one, the danger level increases, as probably other teams have thought of that plan as well. Plus, with that snake attack, all the surrounding teams are probably very far away from us now. I've got it covered, said Naruto as he made his cross seal. In an instant, several bunshins ran out in all directions. We should know shortly of what to do next. Forest of Death. Team 8 was running into quite a bit of trouble. On day 1, they had a run-in with the Sand siblings. At witnessing them slaughter some hidden rain ninjas, they were going to be the next course, as they were spotted by the creepy redhead that sent his sand after them. At seeing the kind of monster they were up against, Hinata had no choice but to use her time seal to jump them out of there. Upon use, her chakra reserves were seriously tapped, forcing her team to stop to allow her to recuperate. But what really turned things to the worse for a wounded prey is when the vultures started to come. As bad as it looked, it was also a benefit. In the several teams that went in to try and pick them off, they were also preoccupied with other team ambushes, as soon their area started to become a battle royal. However, Shino and Kiba did not dare to leave Hinata's side until she was ready to move again. But the Hyuga heiress would not have such a thing. What are you guys waiting around here for? Said Hinata. We have to do something now. You can't, said Kiba adamantly. After whatever you just did yesterday, you're in no condition to do anything else. He's right, simply said Shino. But staying here isn't any safer, rebutted Hinata as she looked out to the battlefield. At the way things are looking, we may have to fight our way out. But you're not strong enough to do a full-on fight. At that statement, Kiba flinched, as he could have sworn his usually nice pale teammate was giving him the famed Hyuga glare. We don't have a choice. We have to go now. The bug ninja stared for a moment before looking out again, for she had a point concerning their situation. Very well. Just stay close. Team 8 then rushed out, and at noticing this action, some of the teams engaged them, as the others were still busy fighting amongst themselves. But in this fight, their main advantage was that their opponents were not expecting much out of rookie Genins, and that was going to be their downfall. Hey guys. We've got your back. Just in time, Team 10 arrived to join the fray as they made quick work of their arrogant opponents. Kiba and Shino were off battling their own adversaries, which left Hinata open as another team advanced on her, knowing she had their scroll. Hinata backed into her Juken stance as her options were limited. I might have to try my new jutsu style. But to her surprise, Team 7 came flying in, as each taking their own opponent, as Sasuke flew in with a kick while Naruto and Sakura flew in with a punch. Naruto-kun, as her eyes shined upon his appearance. What are you doing here? One of my bunshins saw what was going on. So he alerted us, and now here we are. Hinata smiled brightly at this as she nodded. Some of the people here has the Heaven Scroll. Here's our chance to get one. Alright. Let's get this party started. As the Rookie 9 began crushing the opposition. Who the hell are they, guys? They're supposed to be rookies, right? Why are they so strong? Run away. Let's get out of here and just find someone else to steal from. Upon seeing their attempted escape, Sasuke and Shikamaru were successful in securing a scroll for their team. He's escaping, stated Hinata as she began to give chase to the escaping team with a Heaven Scroll. No! Don't go off on your own! Exclaimed Naruto as he ran right behind her. Wait, you guys! Said Kiba. Don't go without a third backup. She'll be fine, said Shino. Naruto will keep her safe, but more importantly, as his bugs swarmed around a panicking hidden grass ninja. We've got our own ninjas to take care of. You won't get away, as Hinata was right behind them. As they attempted to escape, she was closing in right behind them, as she was easily fast enough to catch them. But that's when she noticed something amidst. Why are they slowing down? Finally closing the distance behind them, she realized too late what they had done. In landing, she activated several exploding tags as they were lit around her. At attempting to jump away, a net of more tags was about to fall on her. Unable to see a way out, she did the only thing she could do. Kaiten! However, the explosion was still immense, as her Juken-style defense was successful in absorbing most of the force. But not enough, as the blast threw her flying into a tree as she rebounded off it, landing on the ground. Did we get her? Who cares? So long as the scroll is fine, let's just take it and go. As they approached her, a blonde ninja then appeared in front of them as he kneeled next to her. Hinata-chan! Hinata-chan! Are you okay? Speak to me. As Naruto held her up to see her condition. However, as he gently shook her, she appeared lifeless to the blonde Jinchuriki as his heart sank at receiving no response whatsoever from his pale friend. Hinata-chan at his eye soon began to widen in shock to what this could have meant. Hey, is that guy one of her teammates? Doesn't matter, just move him aside, get the scroll, and let's get to the center as fast as possible without running into any other trouble. Yeah, what the? As the hidden waterfall ninjas looked around, it appeared as if all the animals were running away. What in the hell are they running from? But in careful observation, anything that could move was moving away from their area. What the hell is up with the wildlife? For even the trees seemed to have been shivering. As they looked back, they saw as the blonde slowly set the girl down as he soon stood. Then as he turned to face them, nothing could describe the fear they felt as he looked to them. The moment they stared into his eyes, they swore they saw a demon of absolute bloodlust as he was now glowing an ominous red-orange chakra. He's only one guy, right? One of them said, trying to sound confident. We can take him if we work together. Yes, his tone reflected nervousness. Let's get him now before any of his teammates show up. Naruto was barely containing himself as he stood still. The three waterfall ninjas stepped back as they felt a pulse of his malevolent chakra. I think it would be wise to retreat. Just before they could do so, Naruto had easily closed the distance between them as he stood in front of them, growling all the while. None of you are going to get away with this, he growled. In one move, the Kyuubi's chakra pulsed, hitting all three of them at the same time.